Far out in the Pacific Ocean, nearly 2 miles beneath the surface, there are places so quiet that the sound of a human heartbeat could travel farther than a scream on land. Down there, sunlight no longer exists. Colors disappear one by one until the world becomes a slow-moving darkness tinted blue-black, colder than most winters, older than most civilizations. And yet the deep ocean is not empty. It is alive with drifting organisms, silent predators, invisible rivers, and ancient geological forces that have been shaping Earth long before human beings ever looked at the stars and wondered where they came from. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet, but in a strange way, it remains psychologically distant from us. Most people spend their lives near its edges. We walk along beaches, stare across horizons, listen to waves during vacations, and imagine the sea as a peaceful boundary between continents. But the real ocean begins far beyond the shoreline. It begins where light weakens, where pressure rises, and where the human mind starts losing its sense of scale. If every mountain range on Earth suddenly vanished beneath the sea, the oceans would still be thousands of feet deep. Entire landscapes exist underwater that rival anything found on land. There are trenches deeper than Mount Everest is tall, volcanoes larger than entire states, canyons longer than rivers, and hidden beneath all of it lies a vast moving system that quietly controls the climate of the entire planet. At night, especially, the ocean seems to pull at human imagination in a unique way. Ancient sailors once believed strange lights drifting across the water were spirits. Early civilizations imagined sea gods living below the waves. Even now, modern science continues discovering creatures that appear almost unreal, as though evolution had been dreaming in the dark for millions of years. Perhaps part of the fascination comes from the fact that the ocean reflects something ancient inside the human nervous system itself. Long before cities, roads, or language, our ancestors evolved beside water. The rhythmic sound of waves resembles patterns the brain naturally associates with safety and repetition. Researchers studying sleep and relaxation have found that slow, consistent ocean sounds can synchronize with calmer brain states, lowering stress responses and easing mental vigilance. The sea, in some quiet biological way, still speaks a language the body remembers, and the ocean never truly sleeps. At any given moment, waves generated by distant storms are crossing entire basins of water, carrying energy across thousands of miles. Some waves traveling toward California may have originated near Antarctica days earlier. The ocean is constantly in motion, but much of that movement happens so gradually that it feels timeless rather than chaotic. One of the most extraordinary examples is the global conveyor belt of ocean circulation. Deep beneath the surface, massive currents move cold and warm water around the planet in a cycle that can take more than 1,000 years to complete. Water near the poles cools, becomes denser, and sinks into the abyss. Elsewhere, it slowly rises again, carrying nutrients from the deep back toward the surface. This invisible circulation system regulates temperatures across continents and quietly stabilizes life on Earth. Without it, climates would become dramatically more extreme. Northern Europe, for instance, would be far colder without warm Atlantic currents transporting heat from lower latitudes. In many ways, the ocean functions less like scenery and more like a planetary organ, breathing heat, storing carbon, shaping weather, and moderating the conditions that allow forests, animals, and human societies to exist at all. Yet despite its immense importance, humans have explored only a small fraction of the deep seafloor in detail. There are still regions of the ocean more poorly mapped than the surface of the moon. That fact carries a peculiar emotional weight. In an era where satellites can photograph distant galaxies and algorithms can predict human behavior with unsettling precision, enormous portions of our own planet remain unseen. Somewhere below the surface tonight, volcanic vents are releasing mineral-rich water into total darkness. Strange translucent creatures are drifting through black currents. Entire ecosystems are operating completely beyond human awareness, as they have for millions of years. Hydrothermal vents are among the most astonishing discoveries ever made in the ocean. Before scientists found them in the late 20th century, Many believed sunlight was necessary for complex ecosystems to survive, but around these deep-sea vents, life evolved another strategy entirely. Instead of relying on sunlight, certain bacteria convert chemicals from Earth's interior into energy through a process called chemosynthesis. Around these bacteria flourish giant tube worms, pale crabs, and ghost-like fish living in water hot enough to melt lead, if not for the crushing surrounding pressure. It is one of the few places on Earth where ecosystems are powered not by the sun above, but by the planet itself. There is something strangely humbling about that realization. Life does not simply adapt to ideal conditions. Given enough time, it learns to inhabit darkness, pressure, heat, cold, and isolation beyond anything humans would naturally survive. Some scientists even suspect that life on Earth may have first emerged in environments similar to these vents billions of years ago. If that is true, then the deep ocean is not merely a remote habitat. It may be one of the oldest living windows into our own beginnings. And still, the sea continues changing shape every second. The tides themselves are reminders that nothing on Earth exists in complete isolation. Twice each day, coastlines subtly rise and fall because of the gravitational pull of the moon. Entire oceans are being gently lifted by an object floating nearly 250,000 miles away in space. The same force that steadies Earth's rotation and influences the length of our days also moves water across every shore on the planet. For ancient cultures, tides seemed mystical. Even now, standing beside the ocean late at night, watching black water slowly advance across sand, it can feel less like a mechanical process and more like breathing. The sea inhales. The sea exhales. There are beaches in the world where the water glows blue at night. Tiny organisms called dinoflagellates emit flashes of bioluminescent light when disturbed, creating glowing trails beneath waves and footsteps. Sailors throughout history described oceans that shimmered like liquid stars. Some thought the phenomenon was supernatural. But the reality is perhaps even more beautiful. The light is produced through chemical reactions inside living cells, a form of biological illumination evolved over millions of years. In the deep ocean, where sunlight disappears entirely, bioluminescence becomes one of the most common forms of communication. Creatures flash, pulse, blink, and glow to attract mates, confuse predators, or lure prey from darkness. In some regions of the deep sea, scientists estimate that most visible animals can produce light. Imagine drifting through an endless black ocean where living constellations flicker in every direction. Tiny blue sparks appearing and vanishing in silence. A world where light itself becomes a language, and perhaps that is part of why the ocean remains so endlessly calming to think about. Beneath all human schedules, ambitions, anxieties, and noise, the sea continues operating according to rhythms vastly older than civilization. Currents move, tides return, ice melts and reforms, microscopic plankton rise toward moonlit surfaces each night in the largest migration on Earth, while far below them, ancient fish drift through darkness that has never once seen the sun. Every evening, as daylight fades above the surface, trillions of tiny marine creatures begin ascending from the depths toward shallower water. This movement is known as the diel vertical migration, and although most people have never heard of it, it is the largest migration on Earth by biomass. Small fish, jellyfish, shrimp-like organisms, and plankton rise hundreds or even thousands of feet under the cover of darkness to feed near the surface, before sinking again by morning. For centuries, humans had no idea this nightly procession existed. The ocean concealed it completely. Only with sonar technology in the 20th century did researchers notice strange moving layers deep underwater that seemed to rise and fall with the sun. At first, some believed they had discovered the seafloor itself shifting position during the night. In reality, they were observing countless living bodies traveling together through black water in silence. There is something deeply soothing about the scale of this hidden rhythm. While cities glow and highways hum above the continents, beneath the ocean surface, entire populations are moving according to cycles older than human history. No creature directs them. No map exists. Yet every night, almost unfailingly, the migration begins again. The deeper scientists look into the sea, the more they discover systems that seem almost dreamlike in their complexity. Coral reefs, for instance, appear at first glance to be colorful underwater rock formations. But reefs are living structures built slowly by billions of tiny animals called coral polyps. Over centuries and millennia, these organisms create vast limestone cities beneath the water, forming habitats for nearly a quarter of all marine species. Some reefs visible today began forming before the construction of the pyramids. At night, coral reefs change character entirely. Daytime fish retreat into crevices while nocturnal hunters emerge from hiding. Spiny lobsters climb over coral branches. Octopuses glide across the seafloor, their skin changing texture and color in moments. Tiny plankton drift through moonlit water like suspended dust in a cathedral. Even sound changes underwater after dark. Healthy reefs are surprisingly noisy places. Snapping shrimp create crackling sounds by rapidly collapsing tiny bubbles with specialized claws. Fish grunt, click, scrape, and pulse. Some marine biologists describe reefs by their acoustics, almost the way ornithologists identify forests by birdsong. To young fish larvae floating in the open ocean, reef noise can function almost like a beacon guiding them home. The ocean, despite appearing calm from above, is filled with communication. Whales are among the clearest examples. A blue whale, the largest animal ever known to exist, produces calls so deep and powerful they can travel across entire ocean basins under the right conditions. Some whale songs move through water for hundreds of miles, passing beneath storms, ships, and continents without human ears ever noticing. Water transmits sound differently than air. Sound waves move faster and farther beneath the surface, especially in certain deep layers where temperature and pressure combine to create what scientists call the SOFAR channel. In this zone, low-frequency sounds can travel astonishing distances with minimal energy loss. During the Cold War, militaries used underwater listening networks to detect submarines hidden deep beneath the ocean. But these same systems also captured something more peaceful: the long, haunting songs of whales moving through darkness far beyond human sight. There is an unusual emotional quality to whale sound recordings. Slowed by distance and filtered through seawater, the calls often resemble music more than animal behavior. Long moans echoing through emptiness, repeating phrases separated by silence, patterns drifting across the abyss. Scientists still debate aspects of why whales sing with such complexity. Some songs evolve over time, spreading through whale populations almost like cultural trends. Entire groups may slowly adopt new patterns over the course of years. In a way, the ocean contains not only ecosystems, but traditions. Sperm whales, meanwhile, communicate using rapid sequences of clicks called codas. Each family group appears to possess recognizable dialects. In the dark ocean, sound becomes identity. Perhaps this is inevitable in an environment where vision is limited. Down in the deep sea, sight loses dominance. Hearing, pressure detection, vibration, and electrical sensitivity become more important. Sharks can detect faint electrical signals generated by muscle movement. Some fish navigate using Earth's magnetic field. Others produce their own weak electric currents to sense nearby objects in murky water. The ocean rewards subtle perception, and it changes human perception too. People who spend long periods near the sea often describe a quiet alteration in their sense of time. Psychologists sometimes refer to certain natural environments as soft fascination spaces, places that hold attention gently rather than aggressively. Unlike crowded urban environments, which constantly demand decisions and vigilance, the ocean offers patterns that are endlessly variable yet fundamentally repetitive. Waves arrive without requiring interpretation. Horizons remain open and uncluttered. The mind begins loosening its grip on immediate concerns. There may also be physiological reasons for this effect. Coastal air contains tiny seawater particles rich in minerals and negatively charged ions, which some studies suggest may influence mood and stress levels, though the mechanisms remain debated. More consistently observed is the impact of rhythmic sensory input itself. Repetitive natural sounds, especially low-frequency wave patterns, can encourage slower breathing, and reduced mental arousal. But perhaps the deeper explanation is more ancient and difficult to measure. The ocean forces awareness of scale. Standing beside the Atlantic or Pacific at night, it becomes almost impossible to maintain the illusion that human life occupies the center of existence. The sea stretches beyond vision, indifferent to politics, schedules, and personal worries. Storms form thousands of miles away. Currents move beneath continents. Creatures migrate through darkness according to instincts older than mammals themselves. And strangely, this realization can feel comforting rather than frightening. Many anxieties shrink when placed beside something vast and continuous. This may help explain why humans repeatedly return to the ocean during moments of transition or reflection. Throughout history, people have crossed seas to begin new lives, to escape conflict, to search for knowledge, or simply to disappear into distance. The sea represents uncertainty, but also possibility. Its horizons suggests that the world extends farther than immediate experience. Ancient Polynesian navigators understood this intimately. Long before modern instruments, they crossed immense areas of the Pacific using stars, wave patterns, bird behavior, and subtle ocean swells invisible to inexperienced travelers. They memorized the movement of currents and the rhythms of islands hidden beyond the horizon. To many outsiders, such voyages once seemed impossible. Yet Polynesian sailors traveled thousands of miles across open ocean with astonishing precision, carrying entire cultures between scattered volcanic islands separated by vast distances of water. Even now, scientists continue studying how expertly these navigators interpreted the ocean's surface. Swells generated by distant weather systems interact in complex patterns, creating information-rich textures across the sea. To trained observers, the ocean becomes less chaotic and more like a moving map. And beneath those same waters, hidden far below passing ships and moonlit waves, another world continues in darkness, almost entirely untouched by sunlight, where transparent predators drift slowly through pressure immense enough to crush steel, and where some creatures may live for centuries without ever approaching the surface. Among the strangest inhabitants of the deep ocean is the Greenland shark, a slow-moving predator living in the cold North Atlantic and Arctic waters. For centuries, these sharks pass almost invisibly through dark currents beneath sea ice, growing so gradually that scientists once struggled to determine their age. Then, through careful analysis of proteins in their eyes, researchers arrived at an astonishing possibility. Some Greenland sharks alive today may have been born before the Industrial Revolution, before the United States existed as a nation, perhaps even before Galileo first pointed a telescope toward the night sky. They move through the ocean at an almost meditative pace. Cold water slows metabolism dramatically, extending life into timescales that feel difficult for the human mind to fully grasp. A creature drifting silently beneath Arctic darkness for 400 years begins to feel less like an animal and more like part of the ocean itself. The deep sea contains many such distortions of ordinary experience. Time behaves differently there. Motion slows, light disappears, temperatures remain nearly unchanged for centuries. In some regions of the abyssal plain, a footprint pressed into soft sediment by a robotic submersible may remain visible for decades because currents are so weak and biological activity so sparse. Even death unfolds slowly in the deep ocean. When a whale dies near the surface and its body eventually sinks, it creates what marine biologists call a whale fall. The enormous carcass descends through the water column like a drifting ecosystem. Sharks and large scavengers arrive first. Then smaller creatures feed on remaining tissues. Finally, specialized organisms consume nutrients trapped inside the bones themselves. Entire communities may survive for decades around a single fallen whale on the seafloor. In the deep sea, almost nothing is wasted. This careful recycling is partly necessary because food is remarkably scarce in many regions far below the surface. Tiny particles of organic matter drift downward constantly from above. Fragments of plankton, algae, microscopic waste, and decaying material, sometimes called marine snow. Through the darkness, this faint biological snowfall descends endlessly toward the abyss. For deep-sea creatures, Marine snow is survival. Some animals have evolved enormous mouths and expandable stomachs because meals may be rare and unpredictable. Others conserve energy through near motionless drifting. Giant squid, elusive and rarely seen alive in their natural habitat, inhabit these depths as well, moving through darkness where pressure can exceed several tons per square inch. It is remarkable how often the ocean creates forms that seem suspended between beauty and strangeness. Transparent fish with visible organs, jellyfish trailing luminous tendrils longer than buildings, anglerfish carrying glowing lures above mouths lined with needle-like teeth. Yet these creatures are not monsters. They are solutions. Evolution in the deep ocean rewards efficiency over familiarity. Human standards of appearance become irrelevant beneath crushing pressure and perpetual night. Over millions of years, life simply adapts to whatever conditions exist. There is a quiet lesson hidden in that reality. Much of what humans perceive as strange in nature is merely life solving a different set of problems. Far above these depths, closer to the surface, the ocean creates entirely different spectacles. In certain regions, waves can organize into nearly perfect geometric patterns called cross seas, where swells traveling from different directions intersect into moving grids across the water. To sailors, these patterns once seemed ominous because ships could become unstable when crossing them. Seen from above, they resemble vast woven textures spreading across the ocean surface. Elsewhere, under rare conditions, the sea can appear to glow milky white across enormous distances. Mariners have reported these mysterious luminous oceans for centuries. Some events were so large that ships traveled through glowing water for hours at a time, surrounded by pale light beneath cloudy skies. Scientists now believe many of these milky seas are caused by massive populations of bioluminescent bacteria. Yet the phenomenon remains difficult to study because of its rarity and scale. Even with satellites, the ocean still preserves mysteries. Perhaps no place embodies this mystery more completely than the Mariana Trench in the western Pacific Ocean, the deepest known region on Earth. At its lowest point, called Challenger Deep, the seafloor lies nearly 7 miles beneath the surface. If Mount Everest were placed there, its summit would still remain underwater. Pressure at those depths becomes almost unimaginable. A single human body descending unprotected would be destroyed instantly. And yet life exists there. Tiny amphipods scuttle across sediment. Sea cucumbers drift over the seafloor. Microorganisms survive in conditions once thought completely inhospitable. Even at the greatest depths of the known ocean, life persists quietly in darkness. The first humans to reach Challenger Deep did so in 1960 inside a small submersible called the Trieste. As they descended, sunlight vanished completely. The water outside became black beyond comprehension. For hours, they traveled downward through an environment no human being had ever entered before. When they finally reached the seafloor, they described a strange stillness. Fine sediment covered the bottom like pale dust. Small creatures moved slowly through the beam of their lights. Above them stretched nearly 7 vertical miles of ocean. It is difficult to imagine a more isolated place on Earth, and yet even there, traces of human civilization have been found. Plastic fibers and industrial pollutants have reached some of the deepest marine environments on the planet, carried by currents and sinking debris. The ocean connects everything eventually. Water evaporates from tropical seas, forms clouds, falls as rain over forests and mountains, enters rivers, and returns again to the ocean in endless circulation. The water inside human bodies today may once have drifted beneath polar ice, or moved through ancient coral seas before dinosaurs existed. There is a strange continuity in that thought. Oceans preserve movement across deep time. Even the chemistry of seawater reflects ancient planetary history. The saltiness of the ocean comes partly from minerals washed out of rocks by rainfall over hundreds of millions of years. Rivers continuously carry dissolved materials toward the sea. Tiny changes accumulate across geological ages until entire oceans become archives of planetary processes. And still the sea keeps changing. Beneath Antarctica, hidden under floating ice shelves, Waterfalls of extremely cold, dense water pour downward along the seafloor like underwater avalanches. In tropical regions, hurricanes draw energy directly from warm ocean surfaces, converting stored heat into rotating atmospheric systems visible from space. El Niño events redistribute heat across the Pacific, subtly altering weather patterns around the globe. The ocean is not separate from the atmosphere above it. The two are engaged in constant conversation. Clouds form from ocean evaporation. Winds shape waves. Waves influence air exchange. Heat flows continuously between sea and sky. Seen from space, Earth's oceans appear calm and unified. But beneath that appearance exists a planetary engine of extraordinary complexity. And perhaps one of the most peaceful aspects of studying the ocean is realizing how much of Earth operates without human supervision. Long before human language emerged, tides were already rising beneath the moon. Currents were already circling continents. Deep-sea organisms were already glowing in darkness. Tonight, somewhere far out beyond visible coastlines, whales are crossing black water beneath starlight, while microscopic plankton drift upward toward the surface, and slow cold currents continue their thousand-year journeys through the silent depths of the world ocean. In the open ocean, far from land, there are nights when the sky and sea become almost indistinguishable. With no city lights nearby, the horizon disappears completely, and the surface of the water reflects the stars so perfectly that sailors sometimes describe the sensation of floating through space itself. Ancient navigators crossing the Pacific or Atlantic would have known this experience well. The immense quiet, the slow breathing of waves against wood, the feeling that the world had widened beyond ordinary comprehension. Before modern instruments, the ocean demanded a different relationship with uncertainty. Storms could emerge from darkness without warning. Currents could carry ships hundreds of miles off course. Entire crews disappeared into weather systems never fully understood. And yet, despite these dangers, people continued crossing oceans again and again. Part of the reason may be that the sea activates one of humanity's oldest instincts, the desire to know what lies beyond the visible edge. For most of human history, the horizon represented mystery in its purest form. No matter how far a person traveled, the line where ocean met sky always remained just beyond reach. It became a symbol carried into myths, literature, religion, and exploration itself. The idea that reality extends farther than immediate experience allows us to see. Even now, in the age of satellites and digital maps, the emotional effect remains surprisingly powerful. Looking out over open water often produces what psychologists call the overview effect, a subtle shift in mental perspective triggered by confronting immense scale. Thoughts become less crowded. Personal concerns loosen slightly. Attention moves outward. The ocean encourages contemplation because it resists ownership. Borders exist on maps, but the sea itself ignores them completely. Currents cross national boundaries without pause. Marine animals migrate across entire hemispheres. Tiny drifting plankton absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, produce oxygen through photosynthesis, and quietly influence the chemistry of the planet. In fact, much of the oxygen humans breathe ultimately originates from microscopic marine organisms near the ocean surface. Every second breath taken by a human being may contain oxygen produced by ocean life. This realization changes the way the sea appears. What seems at first like distant scenery becomes intimate. The atmosphere itself is connected to the rhythms of drifting marine ecosystems invisible to the naked eye. Among the most important of these organisms are phytoplankton, tiny photosynthetic life forms suspended near sunlit waters. Individually, they are microscopic. Together, they form enormous blooms visible from space, swirling green and turquoise patterns stretching across entire coastlines and ocean basins. Despite their size, phytoplankton help regulate Earth's climate by absorbing carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. When some die and sink into the deep ocean, part of that carbon becomes stored far below the surface for long periods of time. This process, sometimes called the biological carbon pump, quietly influences atmospheric conditions on a planetary scale. So while human attention often focuses on dramatic marine creatures, whales, sharks, giant squid, much of the ocean's true power lies in countless tiny interactions unfolding continuously beyond perception. The sea is built from accumulation. Tiny shells drifting downward over millions of years become limestone cliffs. Coral polyps build reefs grain by grain. Microscopic organisms alter atmospheric chemistry across geological ages. Slow currents reshape climates. Almost nothing in the ocean happens instantly. Yet over time, the results become immense. There is something deeply calming in that pace. Modern human life often unfolds according to urgency. Notifications arrive immediately. News changes hourly. Decisions compress into minutes, but the ocean operates according to older rhythms, largely indifferent to speed. Tides do not hurry. Deep currents do not accelerate because humans feel impatient. Even storms, violent as they may seem, emerge from gradual transfers of heat and energy unfolding over days and weeks. Perhaps this is one reason people often sleep more deeply near the sea. The nervous system encounters a world moving at a fundamentally different tempo. Researchers studying ocean waves have noticed that wave patterns possess a form of structured unpredictability, sometimes described as pink noise. Unlike abrupt artificial sounds, ocean waves vary gently while maintaining continuity. The brain remains engaged enough to avoid alarm, but relaxed enough to reduce vigilance. In a way, the sea occupies a rare middle ground between order and randomness. Too much unpredictability creates stress. Too much repetition creates numbness. The ocean drifts somewhere in between, and the sea has always shaped human dreams. In ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, Polynesia, Scandinavia, and countless coastal societies, oceans appeared not merely as geographical features but as spiritual spaces, places where transformation occurred. Heroes crossed seas before returning changed. Gods emerged from water. Islands represented isolation, discovery, or rebirth. Even modern language preserves traces of these associations. People speak of emotional depths, of feeling adrift, of memories surfacing. The subconscious mind itself is often imagined as oceanic, vast, partially hidden, containing forces beneath conscious awareness. Perhaps this metaphor persists because the sea genuinely resembles the structure of thought in certain ways. Most of the ocean remains unseen beneath its surface. Just as much of human cognition occurs below conscious attention, patterns emerge gradually. Emotions move like weather systems. Memories drift upward unexpectedly from somewhere difficult to locate precisely. Late at night, listening to waves in darkness, these boundaries between external landscape and inner experience can begin to blur slightly. And yet the ocean is not only psychological or symbolic, it is profoundly physical. A single cubic mile of seawater weighs more than 4 billion tons. The Pacific Ocean alone contains more water than all Earth's land combined contains mass above sea level. Beneath the surface, pressure increases rapidly with depth, about 1 additional atmosphere every 10 meters downward. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, pressure exceeds 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure humans experience at sea level. And still, fragile creatures drift there. Some deep-sea animals survive using bodies composed largely of soft, flexible tissue because rigid structures would collapse under such pressure. Others produce chemicals acting like natural antifreeze to function in near-freezing darkness. Certain fish lack swim bladders entirely because gas-filled organs become impractical in the abyss. Life continuously adapts, often in ways humans never would have predicted beforehand. One remarkable example is the octopus. Octopuses possess highly distributed nervous systems, with large numbers of neurons located not only in the brain but throughout their arms. Each arm can process sensory information and perform complex movements semi-independently. Watching an octopus explore its environment can feel strangely unlike observing most other animals. There is an improvisational quality to their intelligence, fluid, curious, decentralized. They solve puzzles, open containers, recognize patterns, and camouflage themselves with astonishing speed by altering both color and skin texture simultaneously. And yet octopuses live relatively short lives. Many species survive only a few years. The ocean contains repeated reminders that intelligence and longevity are not always connected in the ways humans assume. Some ancient creatures remain behaviorally simple. Some highly intelligent marine animals live brief, intense lives. Evolution does not move toward perfection. It moves toward survival within specific conditions. Far below moonlit waves tonight, octopuses are slipping through volcanic rock crevices, while bioluminescent organisms pulse softly through black currents. Schools of fish are turning together with near-instant coordination, responding to pressure changes too subtle for human senses to detect. Giant kelp forests are swaying slowly beneath coastal tides like underwater woodlands, and somewhere in the deep Pacific, perhaps hundreds of miles from the nearest shore, a whale is singing into the darkness, sending low-frequency sound across the ocean basin through water older than human civilization itself. For creatures living in the ocean, distance feels different than it does on land. Water softens boundaries. It carries scent, vibration, heat, and sound across immense spaces, connecting environments that would otherwise seem isolated. A whale's call can travel farther underwater than a human voice could ever carry through air. Chemical traces released by coral reefs drift outward on currents. Tiny hatchling sea turtles, barely larger than a human hand, somehow navigate across entire oceans before returning years later to the very beaches where they were born. How they accomplish this remains partly mysterious. Scientists believe sea turtles combine multiple sensory systems, detecting Earth's magnetic field, interpreting wave direction, and possibly even sensing chemical signatures in the water itself. In controlled experiments, young turtles exposed to altered magnetic conditions changed their orientation accordingly, as though reading an invisible planetary map embedded into the fabric of Earth. Many migratory marine animals appear to possess similar abilities. Salmon return from the open ocean to specific rivers with astonishing precision. Some sharks travel thousands of miles along recurring routes. Humpback whales migrate between feeding and breeding grounds separated by entire ocean basins, often following paths remarkably consistent across generations. The ocean may appear empty from above, but for the animals living within it, the sea is filled with information. Currents form highways. Temperature gradients create boundaries. Sound travels through hidden acoustic corridors. Magnetic fields provide orientation. To marine life, the ocean is not a blank expanse. It is structured, layered, and alive with signals humans barely perceive. And sometimes the sea reveals those hidden structures in extraordinary ways. There are places in the ocean where two bodies of water meet, but resist immediate mixing because of differences in salinity or temperature. Divers crossing these boundaries describe surreal visual distortions, as though underwater rivers or invisible walls are suspended beneath the surface. Light bends differently across the layers, creating shimmering edges that seem almost impossible. Elsewhere, enormous internal waves move silently through the deep ocean beneath calm surfaces. Unlike ordinary surface waves, these underwater waves travel along density boundaries between warmer and colder water layers. Some grow taller than skyscrapers while remaining completely invisible from above. The ocean hides motion inside motion. Perhaps nowhere is this more apparent than in kelp forests along temperate coastlines. From the shoreline, the Pacific may seem calm and open, but below the surface, towering forests of giant kelp sway continuously in underwater currents. Sunlight filters downward through long green fronds. Fish move between shadow and brightness. Sea otters float on their backs wrapped in kelp strands, so they will not drift away while sleeping. These forests are among the fastest-growing ecosystems on Earth. Some giant kelp species can grow more than a foot in a single day under ideal conditions. They create habitats for countless marine organisms while absorbing carbon from seawater and buffering coastlines against wave energy. And yet kelp forests remain strangely quiet compared to terrestrial forests. Motion dominates over sound. Everything bends with the water. To enter a kelp forest underwater is to experience gravity differently. The environment no longer feels fixed. Plants sway in all directions. Light ripples constantly. Fish hover rather than stand. Even silence behaves differently beneath the surface, softened and continuous. The human brain often responds to such environments with an altered sense of attention. Divers frequently describe losing track of ordinary time underwater. Partly this occurs because sensory priorities shift. Breathing becomes deliberate, movement slow. The body enters a space where ordinary terrestrial cues fade. Some psychologists believe water environments encourage forms of mindful awareness not because they are inherently mystical, but because they simplify sensory focus. Underwater, distractions narrow. Attention settles naturally onto breathing, movement, and immediate surroundings. Perhaps this explains why humans have long associated oceans with introspection. Writers, philosophers, and scientists throughout history repeatedly turned toward the sea during periods of reflection. Charles Darwin developed many early evolutionary observations while traveling aboard the HMS Beagle across the world's oceans. Rachel Carson, whose marine writing transformed public understanding of ecology, described the sea as both scientifically rigorous and emotionally expansive. Herman Melville turned whaling voyages into meditations on obsession, isolation, and existence itself. The ocean invites both observation and imagination because it exists at the edge of human control. Even modern technology struggles against the sea's scale and unpredictability. Storm systems still overpower ships. Saltwater corrodes machinery relentlessly. Deep-sea exploration remains difficult and expensive. Beneath a few hundred meters of water, darkness becomes total, pressures become extreme, and communication with the surface grows limited. For much of history, the ocean floor itself was unknown territory. Before sonar mapping, humans had only vague ideas about what lay beneath deep water. Some believed the abyss was flat and lifeless. Others imagined enormous hidden chasms. Then gradually, through cables, soundings, and exploration, a new picture emerged. The seafloor turned out to be astonishingly dynamic. Mountain ranges longer than any on land run through the centers of Earth's oceans. The mid-Atlantic ridge alone stretches for roughly 10,000 miles, formed where tectonic plates slowly pull apart and molten material rises from below Earth's crust. In these regions, new seafloor is continuously created. The ocean floor is not ancient and static everywhere. Parts of it are constantly renewing themselves. Meanwhile, in other regions, tectonic plates descend back into Earth's mantle through deep subduction zones, recycling oceanic crust over geological time. Earth's oceans are therefore tied intimately to the restless movement of the planet itself. Even continents owe much of their shape to ancient seas. Hundreds of millions of years ago, vast inland oceans covered regions now occupied by deserts and mountains. Fossils of marine organisms have been found high within the Himalayas because those rocks once formed beneath ancient oceans before tectonic forces lifted them skyward. In this sense, Earth's landscapes are temporary arrangements. Oceans advance and retreat across geological ages. Coastlines shift, islands emerge through volcanic activity and slowly erode again beneath waves. Coral atolls form around sinking volcanoes like rings marking vanished mountains. The sea remembers previous versions of the planet. During the last ice age, sea levels were dramatically lower because enormous amounts of water remained locked inside glaciers. Humans could once walk across land bridges now submerged beneath oceans. Entire coastlines existed where there is now only open water. As ice melted over thousands of years, the seas rose gradually, reshaping human migration and settlement patterns. Some archaeologists suspect that ancient flood myths appearing across multiple cultures may preserve distant cultural memories of these changing coastlines. Long before written history, rising seas would have altered familiar lands generation after generation, and still the ocean continues reshaping the world in subtle ways each day. Tiny waves wear down cliffs grain by grain. Salt crystallizes inside coastal rock fractures. Coral reefs build barriers that redirect currents and sediment. Mangrove forests trap mud and protect shorelines from storms. Nothing along the coast remains entirely fixed. Even sandy beaches themselves are temporary structures, constantly reorganized by tides, currents, and weather. Perhaps this constant movement is why the sea feels both peaceful and slightly melancholic at the same time. The ocean offers continuity, yet it also quietly demonstrates impermanence. Waves erase footprints almost immediately. Storms alter coastlines, ships disappear, islands emerge and sink again across ages. The sea endures precisely because it never remains still. And tonight, under moonlight, reflecting across dark water, immense rivers of current are still circling the planet beneath the surface, while cold, deep oceans rise slowly towards sunlight, carrying nutrients from the abyss back into illuminated waters, where life gathers once more, near the shifting edge between sea and sky. Near that shifting boundary between darkness and light, the ocean enters one of its most delicate regions, the twilight zone. Scientists call it the mesopelagic layer, stretching from roughly 200 to 1,000 meters below the surface. Here, sunlight still penetrates faintly, but not enough for photosynthesis. Shapes become uncertain, colors fade into blue-gray shadows. Day and night lose their sharp distinction. It is in this dim environment that many of the ocean's most unusual adaptations appear. Fish, with enormous upward-facing eyes, drift through the gloom searching for silhouettes above them. Transparent organisms nearly disappear into the surrounding water. Some species generate red bioluminescent light invisible to most deep-sea animals, allowing them to illuminate prey without revealing themselves. Others counter-illuminate, producing soft light beneath their bodies to erase their silhouettes against faint surface glow, becoming almost impossible to detect from below. The twilight zone is a world of camouflage layered upon camouflage, and despite how alien it may sound, this region may contain more fish biomass than all human fishing operations on Earth combined. Vast populations of lanternfish, bristlemouths, and other small species move through these depths in staggering numbers, largely hidden from ordinary human awareness. For much of history, humanity knew almost nothing about this immense living layer beneath the sea. The ocean keeps reminding us that invisibility is not the same as emptiness. Sometimes the sea conceals entire forms of life, simply because humans lack the senses or technology to notice them easily. Sperm whales, for example, were diving to extraordinary depths long before humans understood how deep the ocean even was. Elephant seals routinely descend thousands of feet beneath Antarctic waters, navigating darkness with remarkable calm. Some jellyfish pulse silently through the abyss for years without ever approaching sunlight. Meanwhile, near coastlines, another hidden world unfolds inside tide pools left behind by retreating seas. At low tide, shallow pools trapped among rocks become miniature oceans in isolation. Tiny fish dart between seaweed, anemones close themselves against drying air. Starfish cling motionless to stone while crabs patrol narrow channels carved by water over centuries. To children, tide pools often feel magical because they compress ocean complexity into something visible and intimate. Yet even experienced marine biologists continue studying them carefully. These environments experience constant fluctuations in temperature, salinity, oxygen, and wave exposure, forcing organisms to survive conditions that can change dramatically within hours. Life near the shoreline exists in a state of continuous adaptation. Barnacles seal themselves shut to preserve moisture. Mussels anchor against crashing surf using strong protein fibers. Intertidal snails cling so tightly to rock that waves cannot dislodge them. Entire ecosystems survive within narrow bands, measured sometimes in only a few vertical feet along the coast. And above them all, the moon continues quietly shaping the sea. No other planet in the known solar system possesses an ocean-moon relationship quite like Earth's. Our moon is unusually large relative to the size of the planet it orbits, and its gravitational pull stabilizes Earth's axial tilt while generating powerful tidal patterns. Some scientists believe these stable, long-term conditions may have helped life evolve and persist over geological time. The connection between moon and ocean reaches deeply into biology as well. Coral spawning events often synchronize with lunar cycles. Certain fish reproduce according to tidal rhythms. Grunion fish in California beaches time their spawning precisely to specific high tides, depositing eggs in sand before retreating back to sea. For countless marine species, time itself is measured partly through water movement generated by a distant celestial body hanging in the night sky. There is something quietly beautiful about that relationship. The idea that oceans rise and fall because of gravity acting across space, linking Earth to the moon in an endless physical conversation. Perhaps this is why moonlit oceans feel so emotionally charged to human observers. Even without understanding orbital mechanics, ancient people sensed the connection intuitively. Tides transformed coastlines with astonishing regularity. Water advanced and retreated as though responding to the heavens themselves. In a way, it was. And then there are storms. No environment on Earth displays raw atmospheric power quite like the open ocean during extreme weather. Hurricanes draw their energy from warm tropical seas, converting ocean heat into rotating systems capable of reshaping coastlines. Waves rise taller than buildings. Winds erase distinctions between air and water. Entire ships vanish into grey walls of rain and foam. Yet from space, hurricanes also possess a strange elegance. Spiral cloud bands rotate with near mathematical symmetry around calm central eyes. Energy organizes itself into structure across hundreds of miles. The ocean both creates and absorbs these forces. After storms pass, swells generated far offshore continue traveling outward across the sea for days. Long after skies clear near the storm itself, waves may still arrive at distant shores carrying stored energy through the water. Surfers sometimes ride waves born from weather systems thousands of miles away. The sea remembers storms long after the atmosphere forgets them. Even tsunamis, among the most destructive ocean phenomena, behave differently from ordinary waves. In deep water, tsunami waves may pass almost unnoticed, spreading enormous energy across vast distances, while remaining only a few feet tall. But as they approach shallow coastlines, their energy compresses upward, transforming into devastating surges. Again and again, the ocean demonstrates that appearances reveal only part of reality. Calm surfaces may conceal immense movement below. Tiny organisms may influence planetary systems. Ancient currents may shape climates continents away, and still humans continue returning to the sea for peace. There is an interesting contradiction in this. The ocean is not inherently gentle. It can drown, isolate, freeze, erode, and destroy with immense indifference. Yet psychologically, humans often experience it as calming rather than threatening. Part of this may come from perspective. When viewed from safety, from a shoreline, a cliff, a quiet boat, or even through imagination, the ocean becomes a reminder that existence extends beyond immediate human concerns. Waves continue regardless of individual problems. Tides arrive without urgency. The horizon remains open. Modern neuroscience suggests that experiences of awe can temporarily reduce excessive self-focus within the brain. Vast environments such as oceans, mountains, and star-filled skies appear capable of shifting attention away from repetitive internal thought patterns toward broader awareness. In other words, scale itself can be mentally restorative. The sea provides scale in abundance. Standing beside the Pacific at night, hearing waves collapse into darkness again and again, it becomes easier to sense how brief human anxieties are compared to planetary rhythms unfolding across millennia. Long before modern civilization emerged, tides already moved beneath the moon. Deep currents already circled Antarctica. Bioluminescent organisms already flashed through black water beneath storms and stars, and somewhere beneath the surface tonight, drifting silently through cold layers of ocean untouched by sunlight, ancient creatures continue following migratory paths older than recorded history, while continents sleep above them, unaware of the immense living world moving patiently through the darkness below. In the deepest hours of the night, when coastal cities quiet and harbors grow still, the ocean often appears almost motionless from a distance. But beneath that calm surface, countless processes continue unfolding with extraordinary precision. Microscopic plankton rotates slowly through currents. Predatory fish patrol invisible boundaries between warm and cold water. Deep beneath the Atlantic, dense cold water formed near Greenland sinks and begins journeys that may not end for centuries. The sea is never inactive. It simply moves at many different speeds simultaneously. Some motions happen in seconds. A dolphin turning through waves, a squid flashing color across its skin, a breaking crest collapsing into foam. Others unfold across geological ages. Entire ocean basins widen or narrow as tectonic plates drift only inches per year. Coral reefs slowly rise toward sunlight while volcanic islands sink beneath them. Sediment carried by rivers settles grain by grain onto the seafloor, forming future layers of rock that may one day rise into mountains. Human beings tend to notice rapid change most easily. But the ocean teaches another form of awareness: attention to gradual transformation. A coastline viewed over a single afternoon may seem permanent. Viewed over 10,000 years, it becomes fluid. In some parts of the world, forests now lie submerged beneath shallow coastal waters, remnants of landscapes flooded after the last ice age. Divers exploring these underwater forests sometimes encounter preserved tree stumps rooted in ancient soil, silent evidence that places once occupied by humans and animals now belong to the sea. Off the coast of Egypt, portions of the ancient city of Heracleion rest underwater after centuries of earthquakes and rising seas. Near Japan, unusual stone formations beneath the water have inspired debate over whether they are natural geology or remnants of forgotten human construction. Around the world, the ocean slowly absorbs traces of history. Ships, too, become part of this transformation. Thousands of wrecks rest beneath the sea, ranging from small fishing boats to enormous warships and passenger liners. Over time, these structures change from human artifacts into artificial reefs. Corals grow across steel hulls. Fish shelter inside shattered corridors. Sea fans wave through broken windows once filled with light and conversation. The ocean rarely preserves things exactly as they were. Instead, it folds them gradually into itself. Even the wreck of the RMS Titanic, resting nearly 2.5 miles beneath the North Atlantic, is slowly being consumed by microorganisms feeding on iron within the ship's structure. Rust-like formations called rusticles hang from the wreck as bacteria quietly break down the metal decade after decade. There is something profoundly humbling in that process. One of the most technologically celebrated ships of its era now dissolves slowly in darkness beneath cold water, while simple microbial life continues its patient work uninterrupted. The sea reduces human timelines to smaller proportions, and yet paradoxically, oceans also preserve continuity across time. Some marine species alive today have existed in recognizable forms for astonishingly long periods. Horseshoe crabs, often called living fossils, retain body structures similar to ancestors that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. Nautiluses drift through Indo-Pacific waters using shell designs older than the dinosaurs. Coelacanths, ancient fish once believed extinct, were rediscovered alive in the 20th century after surviving largely unchanged for tens of millions of years in deep marine habitats. The ocean shelters both fragility and endurance. This may partly result from its relative stability compared to land. Deep ocean environments especially experience fewer abrupt temperature swings or seasonal extremes. Conditions change slowly. Darkness remains constant. Over immense spans of time, such stability allows certain evolutionary paths to persist. But the sea is not immune to disruption. Coral bleaching events, warming waters, acidification, plastic pollution, and overfishing now alter marine ecosystems at global scales. Some scientists describe the modern ocean as entering a period of rapid transformation unprecedented in human history. Species shift migration routes, ice melts in polar seas, entire food webs respond to subtle temperature changes, and yet even these changes unfold within systems vastly larger than individual human lifetimes. Ocean currents continue moving beneath the disturbances. Deep-sea ecosystems persist beyond most direct human reach. New forms of adaptation emerge even as others decline. Nature rarely remains static long enough for simple narratives. Perhaps that complexity is part of what makes the ocean so endlessly compelling to study. It resists reduction. Every answer reveals additional layers beneath it. Marine biologists investigating whale communication uncover evidence of cultural learning. Oceanographers studying currents discover interactions influencing atmospheric systems half a world away. Researchers examining deep-sea vents encounter organisms thriving through chemistry once thought impossible for complex ecosystems. The deeper human knowledge moves into the sea. The larger the unknown often appears. This sensation is familiar to astronomers as well. The more carefully humans map the cosmos, the more visible its scale becomes. Oceans and space share this psychological effect. Both environments confront the mind with dimensions difficult to fully internalize. Both contain vast darkness, interrupted by isolated light. Both remain largely inaccessible to ordinary human experience. In fact, astronauts have sometimes compared looking down at Earth's oceans from orbit to observing another living system breathing slowly beneath clouds. Seen from space, the ocean dominates the planet visually. Earth appears not as a world of continents, but as a water world streaked with white storms and swirling currents. Thin coastlines become almost secondary beside the immense blue surface connecting everything. Perhaps this perspective explains why the ocean often evokes mixed emotions: calmness intertwined with awe, peace mixed with insignificance. The sea reassures through rhythm while simultaneously reminding humans how small they are within larger planetary systems. And strangely, many people find this comforting. There is relief in recognizing that existence extends beyond personal concerns. Waves continue whether humans succeed or fail. Tides rise regardless of politics or ambition. Long after current civilizations disappear, deep currents will likely still circle Antarctica beneath winter ice. The ocean offers continuity without demanding permanence from individuals. At night especially, this feeling becomes more pronounced. Darkness removes many visual distractions, leaving only sound and scale. The steady arrival of waves creates a rhythm older than language itself. Horizons vanish. The mind begins relaxing its attachment to precise boundaries. Some sleep researchers suggest that repetitive environmental sounds such as rainfall or ocean surf may help stabilize transitions between stages of sleep by masking sudden disturbances. But beyond physiology, ocean sounds also carry emotional associations built through memory and evolution. Humans have gathered beside water for shelter, food, travel, and rest for countless generations. The sea occupies a deep place in collective memory. Even dreams frequently borrow ocean imagery during periods of emotional transition. Endless water, distant shores, tides rising and receding, storms giving way to calm surfaces. Across cultures, the ocean repeatedly appears as a symbol for change, uncertainty, depth, and renewal. And perhaps this symbolism persists because the sea genuinely embodies all of those qualities physically. The ocean is constantly changing while remaining fundamentally continuous. No wave repeats exactly, yet the rhythm persists endlessly. Water molecules move between clouds, glaciers, rivers, bloodstreams, and seas across planetary cycles spanning millions of years. The same Atlantic waters carrying moonlight tonight may eventually evaporate into clouds drifting over forests, fall as rain onto distant mountains, enter rivers, and return again to the sea decades later. Nothing truly stays in one place for long. Far below the surface now, in black water untouched by dawn, bioluminescent organisms continue producing tiny flashes of blue light, while slow ancient sharks move through Arctic darkness and underwater mountains rise silently from abyssal plains toward currents filled with drifting life, all beneath a sleeping world, only partially aware of the immense ocean surrounding it. There are regions of the ocean where almost no rain falls for months at a time. The surface water seemed endless and still, disturbed only by gentle swells rolling across great distances. Yet beneath those calm surfaces, entire rotating systems were in motion. Ocean gyres are massive circular current patterns driven by Earth's rotation, global winds, and continental boundaries. The North Pacific Gyre alone spans millions of square miles. Water within these systems can circulate slowly for years, carrying heat, nutrients, drifting organisms, and unfortunately human debris as well. Even stillness in the ocean is often an illusion created by scale. The sea teaches this lesson repeatedly. What appears empty may be crowded with microscopic life. What appears calm may conceal powerful movement. What appears permanent may already be changing gradually beneath perception. Perhaps this is why prolonged observation of the ocean alters the mind in subtle ways. It encourages patience. Meaning in the sea often emerges slowly. Marine scientists aboard research vessels sometimes spend weeks crossing open water, collecting samples that appear almost insignificant at first glance. Tiny organisms filtered from seawater, minute changes in temperature, faint chemical traces. But within those details lie clues about planetary climate systems, migrations, ecological balance, and Earth's history itself. The ocean rewards careful attention. Even its colors contain hidden information. Tropical waters often appear bright turquoise because sunlight penetrates deeply through relatively clear water, reflecting from sand or coral below. In colder, nutrient-rich regions, oceans may shift toward darker blues and greens due to dense populations of phytoplankton near the surface. Satellite imagery now allows scientists to monitor these subtle color changes globally, revealing seasonal blooms and large-scale ecological patterns invisible from shore. From orbit, the ocean resembles a living canvas in constant transformation. Long, swirling currents called eddies spin across the sea like atmospheric storms made of water. Some trap nutrients and marine life within rotating boundaries hundreds of miles wide. Others transport heat across enormous distances. These structures influence fisheries, weather systems, and biological productivity in ways scientists are still working to fully understand. The deeper humans study the ocean, the more interconnected everything appears. A warming current near the equator may alter rainfall patterns across continents. Melting polar ice can influence deep-water circulation. Tiny plankton populations may affect atmospheric carbon levels. Whale migrations redistribute nutrients between marine regions through feeding and waste. Nothing exists entirely alone. This interconnectedness extends into human history as well. Nearly every civilization has been shaped by the sea in some way. Trade routes crossed oceans long before modern globalization. Coastal currents determined exploration patterns. Fisheries sustained entire cultures. Naval power altered empires. Even languages preserved traces of maritime influence. Words for navigation, weather, direction, and distance entered human vocabulary through generations of interaction with the ocean. Expressions like adrift, uncharted waters, or changing tides reveal how deeply marine experience entered human thought. And still, for most individuals throughout history, the open ocean remained largely unknowable. Imagine standing on the shore 1,000 years ago, looking toward a horizon concealing entire continents no one in your culture had ever seen. Beyond that line existed unfamiliar animals, climates, currents, and people. The sea represented possibility, but also uncertainty vast enough to inspire fear. Ancient maps sometimes marked unknown marine regions with illustrations of sea monsters, not necessarily because cartographers believed giant beasts literally waited there, but because unexplored waters embodied the limits of knowledge itself. In some sense, they still do. Modern oceanographers possess satellites, sonar, autonomous drones, deep-sea submersibles, and computational models beyond anything previous generations could imagine. Yet much of the ocean remains only partially understood. Scientists continue discovering new species in deep waters. Unexplained sounds are occasionally recorded beneath the sea. Entire microbial ecosystems remain poorly studied. There are octopuses still unnamed by science, drifting tonight through volcanic crevices in darkness beneath the Pacific. This persistent unknown gives the ocean a unique psychological texture. Unlike many environments heavily shaped by human control, the sea still retains large regions operating according to rhythms largely independent of civilization. Humans influence the ocean profoundly, certainly, but do not dominate it completely. Storms ignore economies. Currents ignore borders. Tides ignore ideology. Perhaps this indifference contributes to the calming effect oceans often produce. The sea does not require constant human interpretation. It simply exists according to physical laws unfolding across immense scales of time and space, and those laws create extraordinary beauty. Consider sea ice forming in polar regions. As temperatures drop, delicate crystals begin organizing within freezing water. Salt is pushed outward during the process, creating dense, briny currents sinking beneath newly formed ice. Tiny channels inside the ice become habitats for microscopic algae, which support larger food webs when sunlight eventually returns. Above the Arctic Ocean in winter, darkness may last for months. Yet beneath the ice, life continues patiently. Narwhals move through narrow breathing openings, seals navigate under frozen ceilings, polar cod drift through frigid water rich in oxygen. Then gradually, sunlight returns. The first faint light after polar winter transforms entire ecosystems. Phytoplankton bloom rapidly beneath melting ice. Migratory birds arrive from distant continents. Whales return to feeding grounds timed precisely to seasonal productivity. The ocean responds to light almost like a giant breathing organism awakening. Seasonality in marine environments can be astonishingly precise. Some plankton blooms occur within narrow windows of temperature and daylight. Fish migrations synchronize with food availability. Predator populations follow prey across thousands of miles. The sea is full of timing. Even reproduction often depends on synchronization. During certain nights each year on sections of the Great Barrier Reef, countless corals release eggs and sperm into the water simultaneously in one of the largest coordinated spawning events on Earth. Clouds of reproductive material rise through moonlit water while fish gather to feed, and currents disperse future generations across the reef. For a brief time, an entire ecosystem moves together according to signals shaped by lunar cycles, temperature, and seasonal change. The ocean repeatedly demonstrates how large-scale order can emerge without central control. Schools of fish turn almost instantly as if sharing a collective mind. Yet each individual simply responds to nearby movement. Waves organize from wind interacting with water. Sand dunes form beneath currents through repeated small motions. Coral reefs arise through the accumulated labor of tiny organisms over centuries. Complexity grows from countless simple interactions. Human societies are not entirely different in this regard. Cities, economies, cultures, and technologies emerge from billions of individual actions woven together across time. Perhaps this is another reason humans recognize something strangely familiar in the sea. Oceans mirror aspects of complexity already present within life itself. But unlike human systems, the ocean operates without urgency. Deep water circulating near Antarctica today may not reach the North Pacific surface for centuries. Some marine sediments accumulate so slowly that a human lifetime would barely alter them visibly. The sea contains processes unfolding at speeds almost incompatible with ordinary human perception. And in that slowness, many people find rest. Tonight, beyond coastal lights and sleeping harbors, waves generated by distant storms continue crossing entire ocean basins, while moonlight drifts across shifting currents and invisible migrations rise quietly from the depths. Beneath skies filled with stars reflected softly on the surface of a world still ruled, in so many ways, by the patient rhythm of the sea. Long before human beings understood the mechanics of tides or the chemistry of seawater, they understood something simpler and perhaps more important. The ocean changes the way people feel. Ancient communities gathered beside coasts not only for survival, but because water drew them there repeatedly. Harbors became centers of trade, storytelling, and memory. Fires burned near shorelines while waves moved through darkness beyond the edge of visible light. Generations listened to that same sound without knowing that the rhythm came partly from winds crossing distant oceans, partly from the gravitational pull of the moon, and partly from the shape of continents themselves. The sea was already connecting worlds before humans learned to map them. Even now, objects dropped into the ocean may travel astonishing distances over time. Driftwood from Siberian forests has washed ashore in Greenland. Volcanic pumice floating after underwater eruptions can carry marine organisms across entire ocean basins. Messages sealed inside bottles have crossed seas over periods of years, before arriving unexpectedly on distant coasts. Currents create pathways invisible from the surface. Some are warm and swift, like the Gulf Stream flowing northward through the Atlantic. Others move slowly through abyssal depths beneath the reach of sunlight. Together they form a planetary circulation system so vast that its full complexity remains difficult to model perfectly even with modern supercomputers. And still, despite all scientific progress, the ocean retains moments that feel almost mythic. Sailors occasionally report encountering rogue waves, enormous isolated walls of water appearing unexpectedly in otherwise ordinary seas. For centuries, such stories were often dismissed as exaggeration. Then instruments and satellite observations confirmed that rogue waves are real phenomena, generated when multiple wave systems combine under certain conditions into temporary giants capable of towering far above surrounding swells. The sea sometimes gathers energy suddenly into singular forms, bioluminescent waves glowing electric blue beneath storm clouds, vast whirlpools forming near powerful tidal channels, waterspouts descending from dark skies onto open water, endless ribbons of moonlight stretching across black seas at night. Nature rarely needs embellishment. Some of the most extraordinary ocean phenomena arise directly from ordinary physical laws interacting over immense scales. Take the simple formation of waves. Wind transfers energy into water through friction. Small ripples grow into larger swells. Those swells travel outward, carrying energy while the water itself moves relatively little overall. Eventually, near coastlines, the wave base interacts with the seafloor, slowing the bottom portion and forcing the crest upward into breaking surf. A wave collapsing on a beach may therefore contain energy transferred from wind that touched the ocean hundreds or thousands of miles away days earlier. The sea links distant moments together. In a sense, every shoreline is connected to weather happening far beyond the horizon. This interconnectedness becomes especially visible during El Niño and La Niña cycles in the Pacific Ocean. Slight shifts in ocean temperatures and trade winds near the equator can influence rainfall patterns, storms, fisheries, and agricultural conditions across multiple continents. Floods in one region, droughts in another, altered monsoons, changing marine productivity, all connected partly through the movement of heat across tropical oceans. The atmosphere and ocean behave less like separate systems and more like two layers of a single planetary engine. Clouds form from ocean evaporation. Rain feeds rivers, returning water to the sea. Winds generate currents, while currents redistribute heat that shapes winds again. Seen this way, Earth begins to resemble a continuously circulating organism rather than a collection of isolated environments. Perhaps that perspective explains why astronauts often describe Earth from space not as a world divided into nations, but as a single connected biosphere wrapped in thin atmosphere above immense oceans. Water dominates the planet visually, chemically, and biologically. Life itself may owe its existence to the unusual properties of water molecules. Water expands when frozen, allowing ice to float and insulate liquid ecosystems below. It absorbs and releases heat gradually, stabilizing climates. It dissolves nutrients essential for biological chemistry. It exists naturally on Earth in solid, liquid, and vapor forms within ordinary environmental conditions. The ocean is therefore not merely a setting for life. It is one of the primary reasons complex life became possible at all. And somewhere within that immense continuity, human consciousness emerged, temporary and self-aware, standing beside the sea wondering about its own origins. There is something quietly philosophical about marine evolution. Every human body still carries traces of ocean ancestry. The salt concentration of human blood resembles diluted seawater. Early vertebrate life evolved in marine environments hundreds of millions of years before animals moved onto land. Deep inside the human ear are structures helping regulate balance that originated through ancient evolutionary pathways connected to aquatic life. In a distant biological sense, the ocean never entirely left us. Perhaps this contributes to the unusual familiarity many people feel beside water. The rhythmic motion, the sound frequencies, the expansive horizons, All may resonate with systems shaped across evolutionary time. But the sea also reminds humans of uncertainty. Fog drifting over coastal water can erase orientation within minutes. Storms can isolate ships completely from the outside world. Even today, aircraft and vessels occasionally vanish over oceans without immediate explanation. The sea absorbs evidence efficiently, and beneath that uncertainty lies immense depth. In some areas of the Pacific, the water is so deep that if the entire human population stood shoulder to shoulder on the seafloor, the ocean above would still rise miles overhead into darkness. Sunlight could never reach such depths. Pressure would crush ordinary structures instantly. Yet soft-bodied organisms drift there continuously, moving through black water as naturally as birds crossing air. The adaptability of life remains one of the ocean's most calming truths. Again and again, the sea demonstrates that existence persists under conditions humans once believed impossible. Creatures survive beside hydrothermal vents near boiling temperatures. Fish thrive beneath Antarctic ice. Microbial ecosystems inhabit seafloor sediments deep below oxygen-poor waters. Life explores every available space eventually, and perhaps humans do too. Throughout history, people crossed oceans not only for survival or trade, but for curiosity itself. Polynesian navigators entered vast Pacific distances guided by stars and swells. Viking sailors crossed cold North Atlantic waters in wooden ships. Scientific expeditions descended into trenches and sailed toward polar seas, seeking understanding rather than conquest. The horizon continues calling people outward. Yet, paradoxically, oceans also encourage inward reflection. Watching waves for long periods often produces a quiet mental drifting similar to daydreaming. Attention softens, thoughts lose some of their urgency. The mind begins following slower patterns. Neuroscientists studying repetitive natural stimuli sometimes note reductions in excessive cognitive load when people observe environments like oceans, rain, or forests. Unlike crowded urban spaces demanding constant rapid interpretation, the sea offers information that changes gradually and predictably enough to calm vigilance systems in the brain. The ocean gives the mind room to wander without becoming overwhelmed. Perhaps that is why people often speak more quietly near water at night. Vast environments instinctively alter human behavior. Voices lower, movements slow. Conversation leaves longer pauses between sentences. The sea encourages silence, not through emptiness, but through scale. And tonight, somewhere beyond the reach of coastal lights, slow, deep currents continue carrying cold, ancient water beneath migrating whales, while moonlit swells roll patiently toward sleeping shorelines, and luminous plankton flash briefly through the dark, tiny living sparks drifting within the immense breathing ocean that has surrounded Earth for billions of years before human memory began. There are places in the ocean where the water becomes so clear that sunlight penetrates hundreds of feet downward, illuminating suspended particles that drift like slow-moving dust through blue space. Divers descending into these waters often describe an unusual sensation of weightlessness not only in the body, but in perception itself. Without nearby objects for reference, distance becomes difficult to judge. A fish 50 feet away may appear close enough to touch. The seafloor can seem simultaneously near and impossibly distant. The ocean continuously reshapes human senses. On land, the brain depends heavily on stable horizons, fixed structures, and predictable gravity. Underwater, those assumptions loosen. Movement becomes fluid. Up and down lose some of their certainty. Sound arrives differently. Light bends and fades. The body enters a world where ordinary rules still exist, but behave in unfamiliar ways. Perhaps this is one reason the sea has inspired so many myths throughout history. Ocean environments genuinely feel otherworldly because they alter perception at a fundamental level. Ancient sailors spoke of phantom islands appearing through fog, glowing waters stretching to the horizon, strange songs carried across dark waves. Some stories undoubtedly grew through fear or imagination, but others likely emerged from real natural phenomena encountered without scientific explanation. Temperature inversions can create mirages over the sea, lifting distant ships into distorted floating shapes above the horizon. Bioluminescent algae can transform entire coastlines into glowing blue ribbons at night. Whale calls traveling through fog may sound uncannily human from a distance. The ocean blurs boundaries between the known and the mysterious with remarkable ease. Even today, researchers occasionally encounter phenomena they struggle to fully explain at first. Unusual deep-sea sounds recorded by hydrophones, massive jellyfish blooms appearing suddenly in unexpected regions, rare creatures captured on camera only once before disappearing again into darkness. The sea keeps many of its secrets simply because observation is difficult. On land, humans can walk directly into forests, deserts, or mountains to study them closely. But the ocean creates barriers immediately. Water blocks visibility, complicates movement, alters pressure, corrodes equipment, and limits breathing. The deeper one travels, the more hostile conditions become for ordinary human bodies. As a result, much of what humans know about the ocean has been assembled gradually through fragments. Sonar returns, remote cameras, drifting sensors, satellite data, and rare direct encounters. And yet, despite these challenges, the desire to explore the sea persists strongly. In 1930, naturalist William Beebe descended into the deep ocean inside a steel sphere called a bathysphere lowered by cable off Bermuda. As sunlight disappeared above him, he became one of the first humans to directly observe deep-sea life in its natural environment. He described luminous creatures drifting through darkness like living lanterns, organisms unlike anything most people had imagined existed. For the first time, humans were truly entering the abyss consciously, rather than merely imagining it. Since then, deep-sea exploration has revealed ecosystems stranger and more beautiful than many earlier myths. Transparent sea cucumbers swimming like ghosts, comb jellies refracting rainbow colors through rows of tiny beating cilia, delicate siphonophores stretching longer than blue whales, composed not of one organism, but many specialized bodies functioning together as a single colony. Some siphonophores resemble drifting chandeliers made of light. And perhaps nowhere does the ocean's creativity become more apparent than in bioluminescence itself. Scientists estimate that a large percentage of deep-sea organisms can produce light in some form. In darkness, where sunlight never reaches, evolution repeatedly developed biological illumination as a solution for communication, hunting, camouflage, navigation, and defense. The chemistry behind this light is astonishingly efficient. Unlike human-made bulbs, bioluminescent reactions generate very little wasted heat. Tiny organisms produce flashes, pulses, and glows using specialized molecules refined across millions of years. In the deep ocean, darkness is not empty blackness. It is punctuated constantly by living signals. A startled fish erupts in blue sparks before vanishing. A jellyfish pulses soft green through black water. Predators lure prey using glowing appendages suspended like drifting stars. Imagine an environment where light itself becomes behavior. There is something profoundly peaceful about the idea that entire worlds can exist beyond ordinary human awareness, operating continuously without spectacle or recognition. Tonight, deep beneath the Pacific, countless luminous organisms are already drifting through cold water whether anyone observes them or not. The ocean does not require witnesses to remain beautiful. Perhaps this realization carries emotional comfort because it removes human experience from the center of existence. The sea reminds us that reality is far larger, older, and more intricate than individual perception can contain. And strangely, many people sleep better when confronted gently with that scale. Modern life often traps attention inside immediate concerns. Schedules, screens, deadlines, notifications, obligations repeating day after day. The ocean interrupts that compression of awareness. Its rhythms stretch perception outward toward geological time, planetary systems, and evolutionary history. A single tide contains influences from the moon. A single wave may carry energy across thousands of miles. A single drop of seawater contains countless microorganisms participating in chemical cycles older than humanity itself. The sea restores proportion. This effect becomes especially powerful at night because darkness naturally quiets visual complexity. Without crowded detail, the mind becomes more receptive to broad patterns. The repetition of waves, the pull of tides, the distant line where water disappears into sky, and the sky itself remains deeply connected to the ocean. Marine evaporation drives much of Earth's weather. Roughly 90% of atmospheric moisture originates from ocean surfaces. Storms gather water from warm seas before releasing it elsewhere as rain or snow. In this sense, clouds are temporary oceans floating overhead. Even hurricanes, terrifying as they can be, are fundamentally heat engines transferring energy from ocean to atmosphere. Warm water evaporates, rises, cools, condenses, and releases heat that powers further circulation. The storm feeds from the sea while simultaneously redistributing its energy across the planet. Earth's systems move in circles within circles. The water humans drink today may once have existed inside ancient oceans, glaciers, rivers, clouds, or living organisms countless times before. Water molecules cycle endlessly through evaporation, precipitation, freezing, melting, and flow. The ocean is not separate from daily human life. It is woven into it invisibly. Every rainfall carries traces of marine evaporation. Every breath contains oxygen partly generated by oceanic phytoplankton. Every climate pattern depends to some degree on heat stored and moved by seawater. And yet most people encounter the sea only from shorelines. Perhaps that distance is appropriate in some way. The ocean retains its psychological power partly because it can never be fully possessed or simplified. Humans build ports, ships, maps, and satellites, but the sea still resists complete familiarity. Storms continue surprising forecasters. New species continue appearing unexpectedly. Deep ecosystems continue operating beyond easy observation. Mystery survives there, not because the ocean is supernatural, but because reality itself remains more layered and complex than human understanding can entirely exhaust. And tonight, as coastal lights shimmer faintly beside sleeping cities, invisible currents continue moving beneath black water while distant waves travel patiently toward unseen shores, and deep beneath the surface, countless living organisms glow softly in silence, carrying on ancient rhythms within the vast dark ocean that has always surrounded the restless human world. If a person could somehow listen to the entire ocean at once, the sound would not resemble silence at all. It would be a vast, layered composition of shifting tones and rhythms, waves breaking against distant shores, ice cracking near polar seas, underwater volcanic activity rumbling through the deep, whales calling across darkness, shrimp snapping in coral reefs, rain striking the surface in millions of tiny impacts. The sea is acoustically alive. For marine animals, sound often matters more than sight. Light fades quickly underwater, but sound travels efficiently across immense distances. A whale may hear storms forming far away long before conditions change nearby. Fish detect vibrations through sensitive lateral line systems running along their bodies. Dolphins navigate and hunt using echolocation, so precise they can interpret shape and texture through reflected sound waves alone. To live in the ocean is to inhabit a world built partly from vibration. Human beings experience a faint version of this reality whenever they stand beside the sea at night. Even with closed eyes, the movement of water remains unmistakable. Waves communicate space through rhythm. The mind constructs distance and scale from sound alone. Perhaps this explains why recordings of ocean surf are so commonly used to aid sleep. The brain evolved to monitor environmental noise constantly for signs of danger or change. Sudden, irregular sounds activate attention, but the ocean produces broad-spectrum continuous sound that masks smaller disturbances while remaining emotionally neutral. Waves arrive without demanding interpretation. There is no hidden message inside surf, no urgent information requiring response. The sea allows vigilance to soften, and beyond the shoreline, the open ocean contains regions where human noise nearly disappears entirely. Deep below shipping routes and coastal traffic, certain parts of the abyss remain among the quietest environments on Earth. Scientists deploying hydrophones into these depths sometimes describe listening to vast stretches of low ambient sound, punctuated only occasionally by distant whale calls or tectonic movement. It is difficult even to imagine such stillness in the modern world. Human civilization increasingly surrounds itself with constant stimulation: engines, alerts, advertisements, conversations, machinery, media. But the deep ocean preserves a kind of ancient quietness that existed long before industrial life, not emptiness. Quietness. There is an important difference between the two. The sea is never truly empty. Even in seemingly barren waters, microscopic organisms drift through currents while chemical exchanges, migrations, and predator-prey relationships unfold continuously. Yet much of this activity occurs without noise recognizable to humans. The ocean demonstrates that life does not always need spectacle. Some of its most important processes happen invisibly and gradually. Tiny phytoplankton absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Deep currents redistribute heat. Filter feeders clean seawater particle by particle. Coral polyps construct reefs grain by grain across centuries. Modern human attention often gravitates toward dramatic events because sudden change is easy to notice. But the sea reminds us that continuity may matter more than intensity. A tide returning every day for millions of years reshapes coastlines more profoundly than most storms. And coastlines themselves are fascinating boundaries, places where two immense systems meet continuously. Land appears stable beside moving water, yet the edge between them is constantly renegotiated through erosion, sediment, tides, and weather. Sea cliffs collapse eventually no matter how solid they seem. Barrier islands migrate gradually. River deltas expand and shrink. Beaches disappear and reform after storms. The shoreline is less a line than an ongoing conversation between earth and ocean. In certain places, this conversation creates remarkable landscapes. Mangrove forests grow where saltwater and freshwater mix, their tangled roots stabilizing coastlines while sheltering fish and crustaceans. Estuaries become nurseries for marine life because nutrient-rich river water combines with tidal systems to create highly productive environments. Some of the most biologically diverse ecosystems on Earth exist not in extremes, but in transitions. The same pattern appears psychologically as well. Humans often find calm not in total isolation or total stimulation, but in balanced states between them. The ocean occupies such a balance naturally, dynamic yet repetitive, immense yet intimate along the shore. Powerful yet rhythmic. Watching waves can therefore feel strangely restorative because the mind encounters complexity without overload. Clouds reflect across water differently each moment. Foam patterns never repeat exactly. Light shifts continuously with the angle of the sun or moon. Yet beneath those variations, the larger rhythm remains stable. The sea changes constantly while remaining recognizably itself. There is comfort in that continuity. Perhaps this is why memories involving oceans often remain unusually vivid throughout life. Childhood vacations beside the Atlantic, long drives along Pacific cliffs, ferry rides through fog, the smell of salt air before rain, moonlight on dark water. Such experiences tend to anchor themselves deeply in memory because they engage multiple senses simultaneously while also carrying emotional scale. Large natural environments intensify awareness. Psychologists studying awe experiences have found that encounters with immense landscapes can alter perception of time, reduce repetitive self-focused thinking, and increase feelings of connection to broader systems. Oceans are especially effective at producing this response because they combine vastness with movement. A mountain may appear timeless and still. The sea appears timeless and alive. Even ancient philosophers sensed this duality. Heraclitus famously observed that no person steps into the same river twice because both the river and the person are constantly changing. The ocean expands this idea across planetary scale. Every wave differs from the previous one. Every tide rearranges water molecules. Yet the sea persists through continuous transformation. In that sense, oceans may offer one of nature's clearest demonstrations of identity without permanence. Human life resembles this more than people sometimes realize. Cells renew, memories shift, emotions rise and fade. Relationships evolve, bodies age, and yet through all this movement, individuals still experience continuity of self. The sea mirrors change without panic. Perhaps that is one reason it feels emotionally regulating to observe. The ocean demonstrates that motion and stability are not opposites. A thing can remain itself while continuously transforming. This principle exists physically throughout marine ecosystems. Schools of fish maintain coordinated shapes even though individual fish constantly change position. Coral reefs endure across centuries despite countless organisms living and dying within them. Currents circulate endlessly while individual water molecules move in and out of different systems. Continuity emerges through flow, and beneath all visible movement lies the extraordinary age of the ocean itself. Earth's oceans formed billions of years ago, likely from water released by volcanic activity and delivered partly through icy impacts during the planet's early formation. Since then, oceans have witnessed asteroid impacts, continental drift, mass extinctions, ice ages, and the rise of countless species. Every human civilization that has ever existed emerged beside waters already ancient beyond comprehension. The Atlantic rolled against shorelines before mammals existed. Pacific tides rose beneath the moon long before forests covered land. Deep-sea currents circulated through darkness while dinosaurs walked across continents above. And tonight, those same planetary rhythms continue. Far beneath the sleeping surface of the ocean, cold, ancient water moves silently through abyssal plains while migrating whales navigate by sound through moonlit currents, and tiny luminous organisms drift upward from darkness toward faint traces of distant starlight, filtering softly through the endless breathing sea. In certain remote parts of the Pacific, the nearest human beings may be hundreds of miles away in every direction. No cities, no roads, no aircraft overhead. Only open water extending outward beneath the curvature of the Earth. In these regions, the ocean begins to feel less like a feature of the planet and more like the planet itself. Sailors crossing such expanses often describe a gradual change in perception after many days at sea. Time loosens from ordinary schedules. Sunrises and sunsets become the primary markers of passing days. Attention shifts toward weather patterns, cloud shapes, wind direction, and the movement of waves. The mind adapts slowly to the rhythms surrounding it. Perhaps this adaptation reflects something deeply ancient within human cognition. For most of evolutionary history, human awareness developed in direct relationship with natural cycles: daylight and darkness, seasonal change, water availability, migration patterns. Modern life compresses and fragments those rhythms. The ocean restores them through sheer scale and repetition. At sea, the body rediscovers gradualness. Even sleep changes aboard ships. Gentle wave motion can synchronize with internal balance systems in subtle ways. Some researchers believe rhythmic rocking motions may help promote sleep by influencing neural oscillations associated with relaxation. Infants often calm when rocked for similar reasons. The nervous system appears highly responsive to repetitive motion patterns. The sea has been rocking living creatures for hundreds of millions of years, and not only on the surface. Deep underwater, internal tides move slowly through the ocean like underwater breathing. These tides form when gravitational forces and seafloor topography interact, generating enormous waves beneath the surface that can travel across entire basins. Some break against underwater mountains the way ordinary waves break along coastlines, mixing nutrients upward from the depths. The ocean possesses weather systems, rivers, waterfalls, and storms entirely hidden from human sight. Underwater rivers flow through dense brine pools on the seafloor. Near Antarctica, cold saline water cascades downward in submarine waterfalls larger than anything found on land. Methane seeps bubble slowly from sediments, supporting strange ecosystems of tube worms and bacteria. Reality beneath the sea often resembles science fiction more than ordinary expectation. Yet these environments are not exceptions. They are simply parts of Earth humans rarely encounter directly. Consider the giant squid, long regarded as mythological because so few people ever saw one alive. For centuries, sailors described enormous tentacled creatures inhabiting deep oceans, stories often dismissed as exaggeration, Then, gradually, evidence accumulated. Scars on sperm whales, washed-up carcasses, glimpses from deep-sea cameras. Now scientists know giant squid are real inhabitants of the deep ocean, with eyes larger than basketballs, adapted for detecting faint light in darkness. They evolved within an environment where visibility is limited, and survival may depend on noticing the silhouette of an approaching predator from far away. The sea repeatedly transforms legend into biology, and biology itself often becomes more astonishing the closer humans examine it. Octopuses edit proteins in their nervous systems to adapt rapidly to temperature changes. Mantis shrimp perceive forms of polarized light invisible to humans. Certain jellyfish may effectively avoid biological aging under specific conditions by reverting to earlier life stages. Marine evolution explores possibilities that seem almost impossible until observed directly. This endless variation creates another calming aspect of ocean study. It reminds humans that reality is larger than habitual assumptions. The world contains more forms of intelligence, perception, adaptation, and beauty than ordinary daily life reveals, and the ocean stores much of that hidden diversity. Coral reefs alone support extraordinary complexity. Although reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they provide habitat for immense numbers of marine species. Fish weave through branching coral structures, while cleaner shrimp remove parasites from larger animals in small underwater stations. Moray eels share hunting relationships with certain fish species. Tiny gobies live among sea urchin spines for protection. Entire communities coexist through intricate forms of cooperation and competition unfolding continuously beneath the waves. Yet coral reefs also reveal the fragility woven into marine systems. Corals live close to environmental thresholds. Small increases in water temperature can stress them severely, disrupting the symbiotic algae helping provide energy through photosynthesis. When this relationship breaks down, reefs bleach pale white. The sea carries resilience and vulnerability together. This balance exists throughout nature. Forests regrow after fires, yet remain sensitive to climate shifts. Species adapt over millions of years, yet may disappear rapidly under sudden pressures. Oceans stabilize planetary systems while remaining affected by atmospheric change. Perhaps this complexity is emotionally grounding because it resists simple narratives. The sea cannot honestly be described as purely peaceful or purely violent, purely stable or purely fragile. It contains all of these qualities simultaneously depending on perspective, location, and timescale. Watching waves at night, one can sense this duality intuitively. The same ocean capable of generating hurricanes also produces the soft, repetitive surf calming human minds to sleep. Nature rarely organizes itself around human emotional categories. Instead, it operates through processes: circulation, adaptation, erosion, migration, growth, decay. Human feelings emerge in response to these processes, but the ocean itself simply continues according to physical law, and there is comfort in that continuity. In a world where so much human experience feels uncertain or rapidly changing, the sea offers patterns extending far beyond individual lifetimes. Tides return, currents circulate. Moonlight reflects across water as it has for millions of years. Even the stars historically depended on the ocean for meaning. Before modern navigation technology, sailors crossed vast distances by reading constellations above dark water. Polynesian navigators memorized rising stars, wave interference patterns, and bird migrations with extraordinary sophistication. The sea and sky became inseparable guides, standing on a ship at night far from land. This connection becomes immediately obvious. With no city lights, the Milky Way stretches clearly overhead while stars reflect faintly across black water below. The horizon disappears. Ocean and cosmos seem to merge into one continuous space. It is easy to understand why ancient people associated oceans with the unknown beyond ordinary existence. Both sea and sky evoke the same sensation: immense openness combined with partial mystery. Modern science explains much of that mystery beautifully, yet explanation rarely diminishes wonder. Understanding tides scientifically does not make moonlit shorelines less mesmerizing. Knowing the chemistry of bioluminescence does not make glowing waves less beautiful. If anything, deeper knowledge often intensifies appreciation. To realize that tiny living organisms evolved the ability to create cold light chemically in total darkness over millions of years is perhaps more astonishing than any myth. To understand that whales communicate across ocean basins using low-frequency sound traveling through specialized water layers only deepens the emotional impact of hearing their calls. Science, at its best, does not remove mystery. It reveals how much larger and more intricate reality already is, and nowhere is that intricacy more evident than in the ocean. Tonight, while continents sleep beneath drifting clouds, immense unseen migrations continue through cold black currents, while coral reefs pulse quietly with nocturnal life, and slow deep waters formed near polar ice begin journeys that may last centuries before returning again toward the light within the vast ancient sea surrounding the restless shores of the human world. There is a phenomenon sometimes experienced by sailors alone at sea for long periods, especially during calm nights beneath open skies. After days surrounded by nothing but water and horizon, the mind begins adjusting to a scale far larger than ordinary human environments. Concerns that once felt immediate soften slightly. Thoughts stretch outward. The ocean, through repetition and immensity, alters perspective without speaking a word. Psychologists occasionally describe this state as a form of cognitive quieting. The brain gradually reduces its constant scanning for novel information because the environment changes slowly and predictably. Waves repeat, wind patterns stabilize. Light shifts gradually from dawn to dusk. Attention becomes less fragmented. The sea creates mental spaciousness. This effect is not purely emotional. Studies suggest that natural environments with broad visual openness, coastlines, plains, deserts, oceans, can reduce cognitive fatigue by allowing attention to function less defensively. Urban spaces often require rapid filtering of dense stimuli, traffic, signage, crowds, noise, alerts. The ocean asks very little from the nervous system except observation, and observation itself becomes rewarding there. Clouds reflected on moving water never appear exactly the same twice. Sunlight changes color continuously through the day, shifting from silver-blue mornings to copper sunsets and black midnight surfaces illuminated only by moonlight. Even small waves contain endlessly changing textures and patterns. The sea occupies a rare balance between sameness and variation. Perhaps this is why humans rarely become bored watching it for long periods. The ocean remains dynamic enough to hold attention, yet stable enough to calm it. This balance appears throughout marine ecosystems as well. Schools of fish maintain coordinated movement while constantly changing shape. Kelp forests sway continuously without losing their overall structure. Coral reefs evolve over centuries while remaining recognizable ecosystems generation after generation. Life in the ocean often depends on flexibility rather than rigidity. Seagrasses bend beneath currents instead of resisting them. Octopuses squeeze through impossibly narrow spaces because their bodies contain few rigid structures. Dolphins ride pressure waves rather than fighting them directly. Survival in water frequently involves cooperation with movement rather than opposition to it. There may be an understated philosophical lesson hidden there. Human cultures often celebrate control, force, and permanence. But the sea demonstrates another form of endurance, adaptation through responsiveness. Water reshapes coastlines not through hardness, but through persistence. Coral reefs survive storms, partly because their structures distribute force rather than resisting it completely. The ocean rewards resilience more than rigidity, and nowhere is this more visible than in tidal environments, where organisms must survive constant change between immersion and exposure. Mussels endure pounding surf by clustering together tightly. Mangroves tolerate fluctuating salinity through specialized root systems. Intertidal creatures survive cycles of drying, flooding, heat, and cold every single day. The shoreline becomes a place where adaptability itself turns into survival. Perhaps this explains why coastlines often feel emotionally symbolic to humans. They are thresholds, not fully land, not fully sea, a meeting place between stability and motion. Human imagination naturally gravitates towards such boundaries because transformation tends to occur there. Many stories begin beside water. Ships depart from harbors toward uncertain destinations. Castaways wash ashore, changed by experience. Explorers cross oceans seeking unknown lands. Even in dreams, water often appears during emotional transition or periods of uncertainty. The sea represents movement between worlds, and movement itself defines much of ocean life. One of the most extraordinary migrations on Earth belongs to the Arctic tern, a small seabird traveling from Arctic breeding grounds to Antarctic waters and back again each year. A journey spanning tens of thousands of miles. Over a lifetime, some Arctic terns may travel distances roughly equivalent to flying to the moon and back. Whales migrate across oceans. Salmon return from sea to freshwater rivers. Eels drift through the Atlantic towards spawning grounds still not fully understood. Leatherback turtles cross entire basins feeding on jellyfish, while navigating through darkness using cues humans barely comprehend. The ocean encourages motion because it is fundamentally connected, unlike land divided by mountains, deserts, or human infrastructure. Water allows continuity across immense spaces. Currents link ecosystems separated by continents. Marine species disperse through drifting larvae carried far from their origin. Nutrients circulate globally through deep water movement. The sea turns Earth into a connected system. Even human weather depends on this connectivity. Oceans absorb enormous amounts of solar heat during warmer periods and release it gradually later, moderating climate extremes. Water's capacity to store heat is one reason coastal regions often experience milder temperatures than inland areas. Without oceans, Earth's climate would likely be far harsher and less stable for complex life. And the sea continues buffering planetary change quietly every day. Oceans absorb large amounts of atmospheric carbon dioxide and excess heat generated through modern industrial activity. This process helps slow certain climate shifts in the atmosphere, though not without consequences for marine ecosystems themselves. Again, the ocean demonstrates both generosity and vulnerability simultaneously. The more humans learn about marine systems, the more obvious it becomes that oceans are not distant environments separate from civilization. They are foundational to it. Fisheries feed hundreds of millions of people. Shipping routes carry most international trade. Weather patterns, rainfall cycles, and global temperatures all depend heavily on ocean behavior. Civilization exists partly because the sea allows it, and yet the ocean remains psychologically associated with escape from civilization as well. People travel to coastlines seeking solitude, clarity, or rest. Writers retreat beside the sea to think. Artists paint waves repeatedly across centuries. Music inspired by oceans often emphasizes spaciousness, repetition, and emotional openness. The sea seems to widen inner experience, perhaps because it widens physical perspective first. Standing beside a large body of water removes visual confinement. The eye travels outward, uninterrupted, toward distant horizons. Neuroscientists studying perception suggest that expansive environments may reduce feelings of constriction or cognitive overload, partly because they allow broader attentional states. The ocean gives the mind distance. At night, this effect becomes even stronger. Darkness simplifies the world into essentials: sound, motion, faint light, horizon. Human thought often slows naturally in such conditions, and beneath the surface, the sea enters another kind of night entirely. Below roughly 1,000 meters, sunlight disappears completely. Creatures living there inhabit permanent darkness regardless of time above, yet life continues with astonishing richness. Shrimp produce flashes of blue light. Fish sense pressure waves moving through water. Giant amphipods crawl across seafloor sediments, while soft-bodied predators drift silently through the abyss. Some deep-sea organisms may never encounter sunlight during their entire existence. Still, they survive, reproduce, migrate, hunt, and communicate. The ocean repeatedly reveals that life does not require the conditions humans assume are necessary. It adapts, it explores possibilities, It fills available spaces with forms and behaviors beyond ordinary imagination, and perhaps that realization carries a subtle comfort too. Existence is more resilient, more inventive, and more interconnected than it first appears. Tonight, while moonlight glimmers across quiet shorelines and sleeping cities hum softly beside the coast, unseen currents continue circling the planet beneath black water, while ancient marine creatures drift through the deep in total darkness and distant waves move patiently toward land, following rhythms older than memory through the endless breathing ocean surrounding the Earth. Far beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean, there are mountains no human eye has ever directly seen except through the narrow beams of submersible lights. Their slopes rise through darkness where temperatures hover just above freezing and pressure bears down with crushing force, yet even there, life gathers. Soft corals attach themselves to rocky cliffs. Crabs move slowly across mineral-covered ledges. Deep-sea fish hover almost motionless in the current, conserving energy in an environment where food may drift past only occasionally. Entire ecosystems persist in silence around underwater terrain hidden for millions of years. The ocean contains landscapes as dramatic as any on land, but most remain permanently concealed beneath water. Some submarine canyons cut deeper than the Grand Canyon. Underwater volcanoes rise thousands of feet from the seafloor. Vast abyssal plains stretch outward like submerged deserts beneath total darkness, and threading through all of it are currents carrying oxygen, nutrients, lava, heat, and memory across the globe. The sea is constantly transporting pieces of itself elsewhere. Tiny particles from African deserts drift into the Atlantic and eventually nourish plankton communities thousands of miles away. Nutrients rising from deep cold water support fisheries near continental coasts. Volcanic ash settling onto the ocean surface can stimulate biological blooms visible from space. Earth's systems overlap continuously. Perhaps this interconnectedness explains why oceans feel psychologically different from enclosed bodies of water. Lakes may feel peaceful, rivers may feel alive, but the sea feels immense because it links everything. Every ocean touches another eventually. Water crossing one shoreline may later move beneath polar ice or tropical reefs, or storm systems forming over distant continents. The ocean teaches continuity through motion, and motion itself shapes marine life in remarkable ways. Some fish never truly stop swimming because water must flow continuously across their gills for oxygen exchange. Sharks glide through currents with extraordinary efficiency, their bodies refined over evolutionary time into forms balancing lift, drag, and power. Sea turtles cross entire oceans using surprisingly little energy by moving strategically through current systems. Marine animals often survive not by overpowering the environment, but by understanding it intimately. Albatrosses provide a beautiful example. These great seabirds spend much of their lives above the open ocean, traveling immense distances with minimal effort by exploiting subtle wind gradients above waves. An albatross can glide for hours without flapping its wings, harvesting energy from the atmosphere itself through a technique called dynamic soaring. Watching one skim low over moving water is like observing flight transformed into meditation. The ocean rewards efficiency because conditions can be unforgiving. Energy wasted unnecessarily may not easily be replaced. This reality shapes behaviors across marine ecosystems. Predators strike with precision rather than constant pursuit. Many deep-sea creatures drift slowly to conserve calories. Coral reefs recycle nutrients with extraordinary effectiveness. Nothing in the ocean exists entirely alone for long. Even death becomes nourishment elsewhere. A decaying jellyfish feeds microorganisms. A fallen whale supports seafloor communities. Nutrients released by one species become survival for another. This cyclical nature gives the sea an unusual emotional texture. Oceans constantly demonstrate endings and continuations happening simultaneously. Waves collapse, then return. Tides recede, then rise again. Species migrate away and eventually reappear with changing seasons. Storms disturb coastlines while also redistributing nutrients essential for future growth. The ocean is rarely static enough for despair or triumph to remain permanent. Perhaps that is why prolonged exposure to the sea can soften rigid thinking. The ocean resists absolutes. Calm water becomes rough, storms pass, coastlines shift gradually over centuries, even apparently empty horizons contain invisible migrations and currents. Reality beneath the surface is always more active than appearances suggest. This principle extends into human perception itself. Neuroscientists studying visual cognition note that the brain constantly filters enormous amounts of information unconsciously before conscious awareness even begins. Most sensory processing occurs below deliberate thought. Much like hidden currents beneath visible waves, the ocean becomes an external metaphor for hidden complexity. What humans notice consciously is often only the surface layer of much deeper systems: emotional, ecological, planetary, biological. And yet, despite that depth, the sea often feels emotionally clarifying rather than confusing, perhaps because ocean processes unfold according to physical consistency rather than personal intention. Water follows gravity, heat moves through currents, organisms adapt through evolution. The sea does not negotiate or pretend. It behaves according to reality directly. There is peace in environments unconcerned with performance. Human society often demands constant signaling: status, productivity, opinion, identity. The ocean remains indifferent to all of it. Waves continue regardless of human narratives. Moonlight reflects across water without caring who observes it. For some people, this indifference feels unsettling. For others, profoundly freeing. At night especially, the sea can dissolve the illusion that human concerns occupy the center of existence. Looking across dark water toward an invisible horizon, it becomes easier to sense time differently, not as schedules and deadlines, but as cycles unfolding continuously long before individual lives began. Marine animals embody this different timescale naturally. Greenland sharks may drift through Arctic waters for centuries. Coral colonies expand slowly across generations. Deep-sea sediments accumulate so gradually that a single inch may represent hundreds or thousands of years. Bowhead whales alive today may have been swimming beneath polar ice before modern electricity transformed cities. The ocean preserves long durations, and yet simultaneously, marine life can also be astonishingly brief. Certain jellyfish survive only months. Plankton blooms may appear and disappear rapidly depending on temperature and sunlight. Some coral spawning events last only a few nights each year. The sea contains both immediacy and deep time together. Watching waves along a shoreline captures this perfectly. Each wave exists only momentarily before dissolving, yet the rhythm continues endlessly. Individual forms vanish while larger patterns persist. There is something emotionally restorative about witnessing continuity without permanence. Human life, after all, follows similar principles. Moments pass, cells renew, memories fade and reform. Yet identity persists through ongoing change rather than despite it. The ocean demonstrates this truth physically every second. Even the water itself is ancient beyond imagination. The molecules moving through waves tonight may once have fallen as rain onto prehistoric forests, flowed beneath glaciers, circulated through dinosaur bloodstreams, or drifted inside clouds over ancient oceans before humans existed. Water remembers through movement rather than storage, and still the sea keeps moving. Tonight, beyond the reach of sleeping harbors and quiet coastal roads, deep currents continue carrying cold, oxygen-rich water through underwater mountain ranges, while distant whales travel beneath starlit surfaces and billions of tiny drifting organisms rise slowly toward faint moonlit layers above them within the immense ancient ocean, breathing patiently around the restless continents of the earth. In the early hours before dawn, the ocean often enters its quietest visible state. Winds weaken, surface conditions smooth slightly. The horizon softens into gradients of gray-blue, where sea and sky almost merge together. Yet beneath that calm appearance, one of the most active transitions of the entire day is already underway. Creatures that spent the night feeding near the surface begin descending back into deeper water before sunlight returns fully. Countless small fish retreat downward. Squid vanish into darker layers. Predators follow shifting boundaries between shadow and illumination. The ocean organizes itself around light with extraordinary sensitivity. Even faint changes in brightness influence migration, feeding behavior, camouflage, and communication. In the sea, light is not merely visibility, it is structure. It defines ecological zones the way altitude shapes mountain environments. Near the surface exists the sunlit zone, where photosynthesis powers most marine food webs. Below that lies the twilight region, where dim blue light fades gradually toward darkness. Deeper still comes the midnight zone, where sunlight never reaches, and bioluminescence replaces the sun as the dominant form of visible illumination. Each layer contains different forms of life adapted to entirely different realities. To descend through the ocean is almost like traveling through separate worlds stacked vertically atop one another. And unlike human cities divided by roads or borders, these worlds blend continuously through migration. Organisms rise and fall daily between them, carrying nutrients, energy, and biological material through the water column. The sea breathes vertically as well as horizontally. This vertical movement plays a surprisingly important role in Earth's climate systems. When marine organisms feed near the surface and later descend, they help transport carbon into deeper waters through waste, respiration, and decomposition. Tiny drifting creatures participate in global chemical cycles simply by living according to ancient behavioral rhythms. Again and again, the ocean reveals that immense planetary effects can emerge from countless small actions repeated continuously over time. The same principle shapes coastlines. A single wave leaves little mark, but millions of waves over centuries carve cliffs, transport sand, and sculpt entire landscapes. Water seeps into rock fractures, freezes, expands, and slowly weakens stone. Tiny coral polyps build reefs massive enough to alter currents and create islands. The sea changes the world patiently. Modern culture often celebrates speed and dramatic transformation. But oceans operate largely through accumulation. Their greatest powers emerge not from sudden force alone, but from persistence. Currents flowing continuously over long periods redistribute heat across hemispheres. Gradual erosion reshapes continents. Slow sedimentation records Earth's history layer by layer beneath the seafloor. The ocean is time made visible. Perhaps that is why people frequently experience unusual reflections while watching water. The sea encourages thoughts beyond immediate circumstances, because its rhythms unfold on scales larger than daily human concerns. Standing beside the Pacific at night, hearing waves arrive from storms that formed far away days earlier, it becomes easier to sense interconnectedness stretching across both distance and time. A single shoreline moment contains influences from wind systems, lunar gravity, atmospheric pressure, underwater topography, and Earth's rotation itself. Nothing at the coast exists independently. Even the smell of the ocean carries information. Sea air contains compounds released by marine organisms, salt particles lifted by breaking waves, traces of algae, minerals, and moisture. Certain scents associated with the sea arise partly from dimethyl sulfide, a compound produced by marine phytoplankton that may even help seabirds locate productive feeding areas across vast oceans. The atmosphere near water becomes an extension of marine ecology, and human bodies respond to it instinctively. Breathing humid salt air, hearing rhythmic surf, seeing open horizons, these experiences influence stress levels, attention patterns, and emotional states through pathways both psychological and physiological. Perhaps humans were always meant to remain partially connected to the sea. After all, life emerged there. For billions of years before forests covered land or mammals existed, Earth's oceans contained the primary theaters of evolution. Early cells drifted through ancient waters beneath skies entirely unlike those of today. Over immense spans of time, marine life diversified into increasingly complex forms until eventually some organisms moved onto land, carrying traces of their aquatic origins within them. Human beings are, in a distant evolutionary sense, transformed ocean life still carrying marine memory in blood chemistry, cellular processes, and nervous system responses. And maybe this is why water so often appears in human spirituality and symbolism. Across cultures, oceans represent beginnings, endings, transformation, purification, uncertainty, depth, and continuity. Water dissolves boundaries physically. Perhaps it naturally becomes associated with dissolving psychological boundaries as well. Watching waves can make rigid thoughts feel temporary. The sea demonstrates impermanence constantly without anxiety. Foam forms and disappears. Tides advance and retreat. Storms rise and pass. Yet the ocean itself persists through endless variation. This balance between change and continuity may be one of the most calming patterns in nature. Too much permanence creates stagnation. Too much unpredictability creates fear. The ocean occupies a middle state where movement remains constant, but larger rhythms endure reliably. Marine animals depend on this reliability. Sea turtles hatch according to temperatures and seasons. Whales migrate following recurring productivity patterns. Seabirds time breeding to coincide with fish abundance generated by ocean currents and plankton blooms. The sea changes continuously, but not randomly. Even chaos in the ocean often contains hidden structure. Turbulent currents form recognizable vortices. Storm systems organize into spirals. Schools of fish create coordinated movement through simple local interactions repeated across thousands of individuals. Complexity emerges naturally from physical laws interacting over time, and the ocean contains enough time for extraordinary complexity to develop. Some deep-sea sponge colonies may live for thousands of years. Certain coral structures visible today began forming long before recorded human history. Sediment cores extracted from the ocean floor preserve layered evidence of ancient climates, volcanic eruptions, and shifts in Earth's magnetic field stretching back millions of years. The seafloor functions partly as a planetary archive. Hidden beneath modern waves lies a record of changing oceans, drifting continents, and evolving life extending almost unimaginably far into the past. Yet despite this age, the sea also feels perpetually alive in the present moment. Waves breaking tonight along American coastlines are immediate and ancient simultaneously. The same physical processes shaping them operated for countless generations before human beings arrived to observe them. There is comfort in encountering something so old that still remains dynamic. Perhaps this is why many people instinctively lower their voices near the ocean at night. Vastness encourages quietness, not because silence is required, but because loudness begins to feel unnecessary. The sea already fills the world with motion and sound, and somewhere far beyond visible shorelines tonight, moonlit currents continue carrying heat through the darkness, while bioluminescent creatures pulse softly beneath the surface, and slow deep waters circulate beneath underwater mountain ranges older than human civilization, within the endless ancient ocean surrounding the sleeping Earth. In some parts of the ocean, especially far from coastal sediment and river runoff, the water becomes so deeply blue that it seems almost unreal. This color emerges because seawater absorbs longer wavelengths of light, reds, oranges, yellows, while shorter blue wavelengths penetrate farther and scatter back toward the surface. The sea is not merely reflecting the sky. In many ways, it is revealing its own optical nature, and as depth increases, even blue eventually disappears. A diver descending gradually through clear ocean water watches colors vanish one by one. Reds fade first, then oranges, then yellows, until everything becomes blue-gray and finally black. Blood underwater at sufficient depth appears dark greenish-brown rather than red. Coral reefs lose much of their visible brilliance without artificial light. The ocean strips the world down slowly. Perhaps that reduction contributes to its calming effect. Modern human environments overflow with visual stimulation, competing colors, movement, information, and noise layered constantly together. The deeper ocean simplifies experience, shapes soften, sound dulls, light narrows, attention becomes more focused because the environment becomes more elemental. This simplification appears psychologically important. Human brains evolved to process enormous sensory input. but not the relentless density of modern urban life. Natural environments often reduce cognitive strain by organizing information into slower, more coherent patterns. The ocean does this exceptionally well. Waves repeat without exact repetition. Horizons remain uncluttered. Colors transition gradually. Even storms possess broad, recognizable structures rather than chaotic fragmentation. At sea, the mind often shifts from analytical attention toward observational awareness. Perhaps this is why prolonged ocean voyages historically transformed so many people. Sailors crossing the Atlantic or Pacific spent weeks immersed in rhythms impossible to ignore. Sunrise, weather, wave direction, wind, stars, tides. Human schedules yielded partly to planetary systems, and the stars themselves become astonishing over open water. Far from artificial light, the night sky reflected across calm ocean surfaces can create the illusion of floating between two infinities, stars above and stars below. Ancient navigators relied on these skies intimately. Polynesian wayfinders memorized the rising and setting points of stars across seasons, while also interpreting swell patterns, bird flight behavior, and cloud formations over distant islands. The ocean became not an obstacle to crossing the world, but a readable landscape. This perspective changes everything. To inexperienced observers, open water may appear empty and featureless. To skilled navigators, it contains enormous amounts of information. Swells generated by distant storms travel in recognizable directions. Birds indicate nearby land. Clouds reflect lagoons hidden beyond the horizon. Watercolor changes with depth and productivity. The sea rewards attention because patterns exist everywhere within it. Marine animals demonstrate this continuously. Tuna locate temperature boundaries rich in prey. Sharks detect faint electrical fields. Seals navigate dark water with sensitive whiskers capable of perceiving subtle flow disturbances left behind by moving objects. The ocean is full of signals invisible to humans, and yet human beings still sense certain aspects of its complexity intuitively. People often describe feeling weather changes near the sea before storms arrive. Experienced sailors notice subtle differences in wave texture or wind smell. Coastal communities learn rhythms tied to tides and seasonal migrations over generations. Human perception adapts to repeated environments more deeply than people sometimes realize. Perhaps this adaptation explains the unusual emotional attachment many individuals feel toward specific coastlines. A familiar beach becomes more than scenery, it turns into a remembered sensory world. The angle of evening light, the sound of particular waves against rocks, the smell before rain, the changing shape of tides across seasons. The ocean imprints itself gradually through repetition, and repetition itself carries psychological power. Neuroscience suggests that predictable rhythmic patterns can regulate nervous system activity by reducing uncertainty and stabilizing attention. The sea offers exactly this kind of patterning. No wave repeats perfectly, yet all belong to a recognizable rhythm. The brain relaxes because it encounters variation without threat. Ocean sounds are especially effective because they occupy broad frequency ranges, resembling forms of natural acoustic masking. Small disruptive noises disappear beneath the larger continuity of surf. Silence is not required for calmness. Continuity is. The sea provides continuity naturally. Perhaps this is why people sleeping near the ocean often report unusually vivid dreams or deep rest. Beyond the physical soundscape, oceans encourage broader temporal awareness. Watching tides rise and fall reconnects human attention to cycles extending beyond individual urgency. And urgency itself fades strangely beside large bodies of water. Problems rarely disappear entirely at the coast, but they often lose some of their sharpness. Vastness alters proportion. A person standing beside the Pacific at night cannot easily maintain the illusion that every immediate concern defines reality completely. The ocean restores context. This effect resembles what astronauts describe when viewing Earth from orbit: a reduction in narrow self-focus accompanied by increased awareness of larger systems. Oceans produce a similar response because they confront the mind with scale difficult to fully internalize. A single storm system over the Atlantic may contain more energy than entire civilizations produce. Deep currents circulate across centuries, marine species migrate through hemispheres guided by cues humans barely understand. The sea operates according to dimensions beyond ordinary daily experience, and still it remains intimately connected to human life. Rain falling onto American cities may have evaporated from tropical oceans weeks earlier. Seafood served at dinner may originate from migratory pathways crossing entire basins. Weather forecasts depend heavily on ocean temperatures and currents measured continuously by drifting instruments and satellites. Civilization floats atop marine systems whether people notice them or not. Even global communication depends partly on the sea. Vast networks of fiber optic cables lie across the ocean floor carrying internet traffic between continents. Messages, images, conversations, and financial systems pulse through cables resting beneath cold, dark water where fish drift silently above them. The modern world moves through the ancient sea. There is something quietly astonishing about that contrast. Beneath digital communication and satellite networks, Earth still remains fundamentally governed by tides, currents, gravity, sunlight, and water chemistry. Technology changes rapidly. The ocean changes patiently, and patience may be one of the sea's greatest lessons. Coral reefs form slowly. Sand dunes migrate grain by grain. Deep currents complete cycles over centuries. Even recovery after storms often unfolds gradually through natural succession and adaptation. The ocean demonstrates that meaningful transformation rarely happens instantly. Watching waves at night makes this obvious in a strangely soothing way. Each individual wave disappears immediately, yet over time the sea reshapes coastlines, transports sediments, and carves stone. Small motions repeated endlessly become immense forces. Human lives follow similar patterns more often than people notice. Habits, conversations, routines, acts of care, moments of attention, repeated quietly over years, shape existence more profoundly than dramatic singular events. Perhaps this is another reason the ocean feels psychologically familiar. It mirrors truths already present within human experience, but expresses them physically on a scale impossible to ignore. And tonight, beneath drifting clouds and moonlit skies, endless waves continue traveling across dark oceans, while ancient currents move silently through abyssal depths, and countless living organisms rise and fall through layered waters, following rhythms older than human memory within the vast breathing sea surrounding the sleeping world. There are nights on the open ocean when the boundary between water and sky nearly disappears completely. Under heavy cloud cover or new moon darkness, the horizon vanishes, leaving ships suspended inside an immense field of blackness, broken only by faint wave reflections and distant stars appearing through gaps in the clouds. Sailors have long described these moments as strangely disorienting, but also deeply peaceful. Without clear boundaries, the mind begins relying on rhythm instead of landmarks. The rise and fall of the vessel, the steady rush of water along the hull, the distant pulse of waves moving beneath darkness. Human awareness adapts gradually to motion that would feel unnatural on land, until the ocean's constant shifting begins to feel almost stable. Perhaps stability itself is more relative than people assume. On Earth, nothing is truly motionless. Continents drift, oceans circulate. The planet rotates beneath the atmosphere while orbiting the sun through space. Human bodies regenerate cells continuously. Even mountains erode grain by grain over time. The ocean simply makes movement visible. Waves reveal energy passing through water. Tides reveal the gravitational influence of distant celestial bodies. Currents reveal the redistribution of planetary heat. Watching the sea is, in some sense, watching Earth remain alive through motion, and the moon plays a quiet but profound role in that life. Without the moon's gravitational pull, Earth's tides would be dramatically weaker. Coastal ecosystems would differ fundamentally. Some scientists even suggest that tidal environments may have influenced early evolutionary transitions between marine and terrestrial life long ago. Each night, moonlight crossing the ocean is therefore more than visual beauty. It is evidence of an ancient physical relationship between Earth and its satellite, a relationship shaping coastlines, currents, biological rhythms, and timekeeping across millions of years. Marine organisms respond to lunar cycles with astonishing precision. Certain corals spawn according to moon phases. Grunion fish in California time their reproduction to specific tidal conditions linked to lunar patterns. Predators adjust hunting behaviors depending on nighttime illumination. The sea keeps time through gravity and light. Long before mechanical clocks existed, coastal people already understood time through tides. Fishing schedules, travel routes, harvesting practices, and rituals often depended on the recurring pulse of rising and falling water. Perhaps this contributed to the ocean's deep connection with human memory and storytelling. The sea provided not only food and transportation, but recurring rhythms organizing life itself, and rhythms shape consciousness more deeply than people often realize. Heartbeat, breathing, sleep cycles, speech patterns, walking pace. Human biology depends on synchronized repetition. The ocean surrounds life with larger environmental rhythms that interact subtly with these internal systems. Listening to waves at night can feel calming, partly because the body recognizes familiar forms of patterned motion within them. Not mechanical repetition, but organic repetition. Variable, fluid, alive. This distinction matters. Artificial repetition often becomes irritating because it lacks natural variation. Ocean waves differ slightly each moment in timing, force, texture, and sound. The brain remains gently engaged without becoming overstimulated. The sea occupies the nervous system without overwhelming it. Perhaps this is why people often lose track of time while watching water. Attention becomes less fragmented. Thoughts loosen their urgency. Moments stretch slightly wider. Modern neuroscience sometimes refers to this as soft fascination, a state in which attention rests naturally on stimuli rich enough to remain interesting but gentle enough not to demand effortful concentration. Oceans produce this effect exceptionally well. The sea invites awareness rather than forcing it, and awareness itself changes under darkness. At night, human vision becomes less dominant while hearing grows more sensitive. Beside the ocean, this shift creates an experience shaped largely by sound and motion rather than detail. Waves emerge from darkness before becoming visible. Wind direction becomes audible. Distances feel larger because the eye cannot easily define them. The unknown expands slightly after sunset. Yet unlike many forms of darkness, ocean darkness often feels less threatening than contemplative. Perhaps because the repetitive sound of surf signals continuity. Even unseen waves reassure the mind through rhythm. Something is still moving. Something remains stable enough to repeat. Far offshore, meanwhile, countless marine organisms begin their nightly ascent toward surface waters in what scientists call the diel vertical migration, one of the largest daily movements of biomass on Earth. Tiny crustaceans, fish, squid, and gelatinous animals rise from deep darkness under cover of night to feed in richer surface waters before descending again at dawn. Every evening, the ocean rearranges itself vertically. This migration is so immense that early sonar operators during World War II sometimes mistook dense biological layers for the seafloor itself. Entire living communities moving together created false bottom readings beneath ships. The sea was alive in greater numbers than humans had imagined, and still is. A single liter of seawater may contain billions of microorganisms. Tiny plankton drifting near the surface collectively generate a large portion of Earth's oxygen through photosynthesis. These microscopic organisms influence climate, food webs, and atmospheric chemistry at planetary scales despite being individually invisible to the naked eye. Again and again, the ocean demonstrates how small things accumulate into immense consequences. This principle appears everywhere in marine systems. Individual coral polyps create reefs visible from space. Tiny temperature changes alter global weather patterns. Microscopic algae affect atmospheric carbon levels. The sea teaches that scale is often deceptive. What appears insignificant may sustain entire worlds. Perhaps human life works similarly more often than people notice. Small habits shape health. Quiet conversations alter relationships. Repeated acts of attention gradually transform understanding. Watching tides return night after night makes such truths feel less abstract. The ocean rarely hurries, yet over time it changes nearly everything it touches. Even stone yields eventually. Sea caves form where waves exploit small fractures in cliffs over centuries. Archways collapse into isolated pillars. Sand transported grain by grain reshapes entire coastlines. What seems permanent beside the sea is often merely slow-moving. And slowness itself may be one of the most relaxing qualities the ocean offers modern minds. Human culture increasingly accelerates attention. Information arrives instantly. Expectations compress time. The sea resists that pace completely. Currents move according to planetary physics, not human urgency. Tides follow celestial mechanics indifferent to schedules. The ocean reminds people that existence does not need to unfold rapidly to remain meaningful. Tonight, while sleeping cities glow softly along distant coastlines, moonlit tides continue rising through quiet harbors, while deep-water currents circle silently beneath the Atlantic, and billions of drifting organisms rise slowly upward through layers of dark water, moving according to rhythms older than civilization within the vast ancient sea surrounding the Earth.